Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month-to-month basis. It's time to crack open our...
Movie Memoirs!
Dragon, can we talk about Avatar yet?
No Tiki.
Okay, well, what about now? Can we talk about it now?
No Tiki.
All right, fine. How about now?
No Tiki, we have to get to the news first.
All right. So welcome everyone to Movie Memoirs. You can tell there's one thing that I watched this month that sort of took precedence over everything else. Thank you, Netflix. But we'll get to that soon. Dragon, how was your month?
It was good.
That was not a very strong answer.
Well, actually, no, it was really exploratory. It was really exploratory, not in the catch-up side of things.
Fair enough. You have some mystery movies. I can maybe guess what they are, and I'm kind of scared at your reaction to them.
You pitched me a couple things, Tiki. It might not be what you think.
Yeah, we'll see. So, okay, so Dragon, yes, because I do desperately want to talk about Avatar. Let's get to the news.
Yes, all right. Okay, so first off, we got some Mando news.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we've had some Mandalorian news dropped on us here. Mainly, basically, the casting of some familiar faces, or lack thereof. So we're just going to rapid fire through, announce some casting here. So first off, we have Tamora Morrison returning as, assumedly, Boba Fett. Now, again, some people, a big Star Wars fan buddy of mine, he threw out, what if he's come back as Captain Rex from the Clone Wars? Well, yeah, they all do look the same. They could get more than one performance out of him if they really wanted to. And, of course, Boba Fett, Dave Filoni being the big George Lucas continuity fan that he is, as far as the prequels said it, Boba Fett is a clone of his father Django. Therefore, he would look like Tamora Morrison under the helmet, technically.
Dragon, is it wrong that, as a character, I'm way more interested in Captain Rex than I am in Boba Fett? Just, purely from, a three-dimensional, I always make this argument with Boba Fett, but, purely just because I feel like Captain Rex just has, way more baggage to him, and, I'd love to see, a post-Clone Wars Captain Rex. I don't know.
Also, it's actually been, I don't know how official this is, but it sounds like they've confirmed that Boba Fett will be in Season 2 in a small role, and that he'll have a major role in a Season 3. So I don't know how confirmed they are for a season. I think they're confirmed for a Season 3. So.
I mean, let's face it, Dragon. It's the most popular thing.
It's going. I know it's going. I know it's going to happen. Whether it's going to happen at this point, that's the point. The point being, it looks like they're planning on having a bigger Boba Fett season for Season 3. So that's interesting. Okay, so Katie Sackhoff coming in as Bo-Katan. Now, Katie Sackhoff, interestingly, Tiki, this was a character from Clone Wars and voiced by Katie Sackhoff. So that's really cool. Oh. We got her in the thing, and she does look a lot like her character.
Now I kind of wish we would have a live-action Jim Cummings Hondo.
You joke about that. All right, let's see. So then lastly, Timothy Olyphant. He's going to be in the show, and he's been spotted in Boba Fett armor. Now, from what I understand, he was playing a character from the Aftermath novels of Star Wars, which basically is a character who stole the Boba Fett armor and is kind of pretending to be Boba Fett.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea.
Maybe this season we're going to get kind of a build up to Boba Fett, where we're kind of building up the legacy of Boba Fett before we actually see the man.
I'm very excited by this, T, because basically what you're laying out right now is exactly the reason. It's going to be the Boba Fett that we kind of glimpsed most likely in the first season. We saw the legs and a little bit of a cape. That's probably. We're going to build up both, and that's going to be Timothy Olyphant, and we're building up the legacy. Basically, what Mandalorian does so well is that they take the iconography and they add layers to it. So we take why is Boba Fett cool? Well, we build up the mythology and the legend, much like the fans have, and then reveal, it's not Boba Fett, it's Timothy Olyphant. What's going on here? And then, of course, on the sly, the real Boba Fett is kind of slowly but surely making his comeback and probably going to steal back his armor by the end of the season, be my guess. Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
So let's see. Next up, we have
some sad news.
Yeah, we have some passings here. Okay, so Jerry Stiller Martin Pascal and Fred Willard. Dragon, you know where the first thing that I saw Jerry Stiller was in?
What?
Freaking Zoolander of all things.
Well, that makes sense. His son is in that movie, so.
And he plays Derek Zoolander's agent, and oh man. Oh.
That makes sense.
More
Yeah, oh my
importantly,
god, Jerry, I was really disheartened.
He was the father in King of Queens, right?
Yes, he was the father in King of Queens, and he played, most famously, he played George Costanza's father in Seinfeld. He played Frank Costanza.
Gotcha.
So basically, he did King of Queens after that. So that's kind of like his next fatherly role that he got. But yeah, those are the two roles.
Always just kind of struck me as like maybe I don't know. He always kind of maybe had like a little bit of an Andy Griffith quality to him, where he's just like the all around like all American dad for the next generation.
Well, he's definitely the angry dad for the next generation. Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe another Archie Bunker. Andy Griffith is definitely not the best comparison, because Andy Griffith is much more patient. But,
sure. I mean, basically, Jerry Stiller, he was insanely funny yet respectable in his mastery of line delivery. That's the thing people overlook with Jerry. Jerry Stiller, the reason he was funny is like if you try to nail that, well, what exactly was special about Jerry Stiller? Don't get me wrong, there's a lot special, but I mean, the main thing is that his line delivery is what set him out. That's what made him iconic. That's what that's why they wanted to bring him back in some, because he chose to yell the lines at those certain points. Like he made that choice. Like the whack George now and again, let's yell at him. And of course, that made him famous. And he gets on King of Queens. He's permeated into two shows within the culture. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Also, he was in Teacher's Pet recently. When we're going to be talking about that later. But Jerry Stiller, the role in Teacher's Pet.
Right.
All right, so next one, Marty Pascal. Oh God, Pascal. This one hurt me a lot too, because I mean Jerry Stiller was out of the blue, and it's funny. I had like a whole thing with Jerry Stiller where my father tells me, "Hey, Jerry Seinfeld died." Like, wait, what?
Oh no! Oh God!
Because again, basically, what he remembers, he just glimpsed at a headline. He is not in the know of Seinfeld and everything. So basically, he interprets like Jerry
passes away. Jerry,
Jerry S. probably, and so here's like I just watched, and we're not going to cover it in the TV portion, but I watched this. I watched 2 stand-up specials. Like I watched Jerry Seinfeld stand-up special. This is like, so imagine this, like the day or so after you watched the Jerry Seinfeld comedy special, where he killed. It was fine. It was good. It was like he seemed perfectly fine and health wise. He like jumped from a helicopter. It was like the whole thing. And anyway, so this happens. I wake up one day, like I go down, like he tells me, I haven't looked at the news yet. He says, "Oh yeah, Jerry Seinfeld." Like, wait, what? So then like he tells me age 92, and then I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute, wait. I looked. He can't be 92. You're out of your mind. So then, of course, I found out news. The point being, it was good news for Jerry Seinfeld, bad news for Jerry Stiller. It was sad to find out.
Yeah.
So Marty Pascal. This guy's really famous, Teague, and we don't really talk about this. He was a fan of comics who broke into the industry. Like, he was the guy in the letters page. They gave him a nickname in the letters pages. He commented so often. He was Pesky Pascal. That was his nickname. And he became a story editor for Batman the Animated Series. Wrote on Phantasm, as well as I believe he wrote. Point being, Pascal. He did See No Evil and The Crime Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely remember his name from some of those episodes. Yeah.
Let's see. He's kind of the reason Demon's Quest got made, because he's the guy who sold Denny O'Neil on coming on board for an episode. So he's very responsible for that, and just kind of overseeing some of the really famous episodes. They're actually doing a documentary. It's supposed to come out next year. Again, supposed to, given I have no idea how things are going to work now. But the point being, there's a documentary supposed to come out next year called True Believers. And this is about the fans who became legends, called True Believers fans, the comic fans who became comic legends. So he's going to be featured in that. So it's going to be kind of the last thing we're ever going to see him in.
Nice. Okay. So then we get to Fred Willard, and this one was Dragon. Have you ever seen the like Best in Show and A Mighty Wind and those movies, the mockumentaries that Fred Willard was in?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's where I really know him from. I mean, obviously I know him from Wall-E. I'm sure that's where most people instantly recognize him from. But man, this guy had such great comedic timing in those movies, because the point of those movies was to kind of like parody how dry these people were and how seriously they took something that was like outwardly inherently ridiculous, like, like dog grooming and stuff like that. So Fred Willard just had a natural tendency to really just kind of dig into the self-seriousness of an absurd situation, and that's what I always loved about his style.
Yeah, Fred Willard, he always brought this. He brought just the respectability to him. He brought this. I mean, of course I know him from the show we usually don't speak about here, but he was on Raymond. I won't say the full name, but he was on Raymond.
Oh God,
he was a. He was,
that's the whole thing, folks.
He was on that. He played Robert Barone's father-in-law, who basically the famous thing that he has in that episode is that Robert. So Brad Garrett's so wonderful. He basically, out of respect, he asked the parents' permission to marry the daughter, proposed to her, and they said with a smile, Fred Willard with that classic smile on his face, that nice guy delivery says, "Well, thanks for asking, but no." He said no, and basically all that's built around. He wants to propose to his girlfriend, but like the parents said no. It's like, oh God, this poor Robert. So Fred Willard, I mean, there's that. The role I think he was best in was probably he was really good in Anchorman. He played Ed, the boss on Anchorman. It was a small role, but it was very funny. Again, Fred Willard always fit into these niche small roles, but he kind of made them pop.
Definitely, yeah.
He was in Kim Possible for a couple. So he was in a bunch of stuff, as Claude Kring, I believe, is alluding to here. I don't know exactly what he's talking about here because I'm a little. I believe he said he was in what is it, Central Park, or is that a separate matter?
I
think it's a separate matter.
He's one of the guest songwriters for Central Park.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Also, nice to see you, Claude. Hope you're doing okay. All right.
Let me. Huge claim to fame with Wall-E, first live-action actor in a Pixar movie. That's huge. No one's ever going to take that away from him. That's brilliant. That's great.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm just gonna kind of quickly look through Claude Corinda's comments here and make sure.
While you're doing that,
big, yeah, go ahead.
Basically, last thing I actually saw Fred Willard. One of the things we'll be talking about later. He was in Space Force, so I got to see his last performance in Space Force, and I got to tell you, he was looking really frail in that too. So it was kind of like, oh God, like that. And I assume Modern Family killed his character off in Modern Family. I guess if I'm going to read into it, he was probably maybe health wise, he had to get out of the shows he was doing, so they kind of had to minimize the role or get him out of there. I don't know.
All right, so yeah, Claude is really pushing us to watch this Central Park show. So I'm definitely Claude. By all means, I'm in. And then also Disney Plus has apparently fixed the aspect ratio for The Simpsons with a new feature. Well, that's good to hear. I've honestly, with The Simpsons, I've been too afraid to look at it. So I'm just like, I don't want the memories of The Simpsons tainted for me with bad aspect ratios. So I might go in and actually check out some of those episodes now. Anyways. All right, next news item, Dragon.
All right, let's see. Next news item. The Batwoman recasting. So this is more bad news.
Dragon, I'm just gonna let you take the floor on this, buddy. This is Blue Dragon 5 soapbox hour here, folks.
I'm gonna try to keep this brief, but okay. Essentially, I'm not a fan of the Batwoman show, and this is just like more ridiculous. Basically, I watched through that whole season. Again, I'm not going to cover it in the TV section. I'm just going to compile into my rant here because I just no respect for this Batwoman show. Point being, it was a bad idea from the get-go, folks. It was just it was a bad idea of a spin-off show, and it was basically just like the CWs. They can't just say Batman. They have to write Batman out and basically put this character in, and just like they're always living in the shadow of Batman. If you want to do a Batwoman show, fine, do a Batwoman show, but like don't be afraid of Batman. Don't write him out. Just acknowledge that Batman's around. Like you've acknowledged that Superman's around Supergirl. It's not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like they make Batman look bad by the way he just gave up on Gotham and left. I've always been peeved about that, but essentially, much as I don't like the Batwoman show, I've given it every opportunity. I've watched the whole season. I've given it every opportunity. And just there's a lot of padding, a lot of stupid stuff that goes on, and it got increasingly stupid towards the end. The one element that it got right was the casting of Batwoman. Ruby Rose, and again, that character is period. Again, this doesn't help my feelings in the show, as you can probably guess. I don't care for the Batwoman character. I've grown to accept it as like, okay, I think you'll notice she doesn't appear in a lot of main Batman books like outside of her own because, again, they don't know what to do with her because it's like, oh, Batman had this cousin the whole time. Like, what? So it's like you just have like a cousin to the Wayne family that happened to be Batwoman, and she uses guns and everything, not in the show, but in the comics. And it's like it was like a whole messy thing. Like she just doesn't feel like a member of the Bat family. It doesn't feel like she gel well, and she's always been on the outskirts.
Right, yeah.
And she's about important things. I get why people love her. And again, as that character, I get Ruby Rose well represented that character. While I don't like her, it's like, okay, I can admit that's well represented. That's who that character is right there. It's pretty good. So they've made it even worse, Tiki, since the last time I told you here. So one, Ruby Rose, she suffered a back injury that basically almost paralyzed her. She said that's not the reason. I think she's a little full of it on that one. Because I mean, how can you not be afraid of another near paralysis, doing a stunt or something on that show? I wouldn't blame her. That's what I'm saying. But it's like Stephen Amell, he's recently copped to having panic attacks over Arrow, where basically it's the idea if you're number one on the call sheet on a CW show, which essentially will go on forever until the actors give up on it. It's a lot of pressure. Like everyone's day revolves around you because you're the title character. That's essentially what she's kind of alluding to. That's the main reason she left, which I can't blame her for. But so originally they said they were going to recast her, but then it got worse. Okay, so recently what they've said is, you know what, we're not going to recast Kate Kane. We're not going to recast Batwoman. What we're going to do instead, get ready for this, we're going to create an original character, so not from the commentary, an original character to the show that no one's going to care about, on top of a show no one really shouldn't care about, to be Batwoman. So you literally took the only thing that remotely worked about the show out, and we're not even going to say it's the same character. It's like, okay, new character, not a problem.
Right.
And the character, it's still like they made the suit weak to kryptonite at the end of the season, which is the dumbest. I don't want to bother with it. It's all terrible. It's all terrible.
Right, Dragon. Oh boy! All right.
You can kind of glimpse where I'm getting at, though, right? There's a lot of issues.
My condolences.
All right.
Okay. So the Snyder Cut. Yeah, that's a thing that's gonna happen eventually. On an official level.
Or to the fans of it here, HBO Max releases the Snyder Cut 2021.
Yeah, so Dragon, I'm just gonna admit I am not nearly it's not that I don't care about the Snyder Cut. It's just that honestly, the two Zack Snyder movies that we have that are Snyder Cuts, if you will, I'm still not big fans of. I'm not a big Man of Steel fan. I'm not a big Batman vs. Superman fan. So I gotta be honest with you. Justice League, I'm interested in it from a pop culture osmosis point of view. But I'm not I don't think it's going to be something that I actively am oh man, this is a masterpiece of filmmaking or anything.
Yeah, I mean, the thing... Yeah, Snyder did he was planning on a 2-part Justice League movie, so I'm interested in seeing this, but I'm not tripping over myself to go see it.
Yeah.
It's basically they're giving him $30 million to finish the cut of a 2-part movie, which basically is going to be a really effects heavy shot or so in part one. Basically, the only thing I want to see in this movie is I want to see Darkseid. That's all I want in this life. I just want to see Darkseid in live action. Okay, it's all. That's all I want to see. And that's basically the end of the movie. It was supposed to end with Steppenwolf goes back in defeat and he gets killed by Darkseid for his failure. That's the scene that's how it was supposed to end. And basically part 2 would be Darkseid getting his revenge and the whole. Basically, you get to see the vision in Batman v Superman where Apocalypse takes over the Earth and all that. So that's what part 2 is supposed to be. But again, they didn't even get that far in the making this movie. And this $30 million will not cover that second movie. So there are a few blanks I wouldn't mind seeing filled, but still, it's not going to be a perfect movie. It's going to be a Snyder movie, which kind of says all there. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see and just kind of see those parts of it that are missing, the whole all the stuff that was missing from the trailers, Superman coming back in the black suit and all that sort of stuff. The big thing, we're supposed to see the Martian Manhunter potentially. I don't even know if we're going to see, because basically the Martian Manhunter was. Remember the general in Man of Steel, General Swanwick, the general character?
The guy who had the interaction that was the most cringeworthy comic relief scene I've ever seen in a superhero movie. That guy.
I guess, yeah, it was more the girl you were thinking of, but yeah, the guy.
Well, yeah, I'm saying the guy that the girl says the cringe.
Yes, him, General Swanwick. The point being, that guy, good actor, but Harry Leonard, I love it. Good actor in the Blacklist. Point being, this guy, he's supposed to be the Martian Manhunter. We're going to reveal that in Justice League, which is not a bad idea by any means, because that's how you do Martian Man. You reveal he was somebody who we thought was human, and making a character we've seen before a few times, that ain't bad. And a military guy too, which is traditional for the Martian Manhunter. Mm-hmm. So all that sounds fine. Just again, Snyder's, he was really desperately saying, and then he was supposed to be the Martian Manhunter. You don't understand how great the Snyder Cut was. It was just it's just too late. Too late, Snyder. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm not uberly excited about it, but okay, it'll be nice to see though.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's see. Next up, we're getting through this news pretty quickly. Good for us. So J.K. Simmons has signed a 3-picture Spider-Man contract, which is kind of fascinating.
So what this means, I believe, is I want to say after his appearance in Far From, he has 2 more left on the 3-picture deal. The idea is like whenever someone
Okay.
signs on, I got his word for word thing. Well, I'm not going to read a word for word. I'm saying I learned his word for word thing on this. So essentially, what he said is he hasn't said, "Hey, I'm coming back," but he said, like most actors, you sign a 3-picture deal, which means he's willing to come back. He'd love to come back, and they could have the option to bring him back, whether they will or not.
Mhm.
There's It's assumedly a Spider-Man deal, but again, like he could just
They
appear in
got to
other.
bring him back for Spider-Man. There's no place like home, right?
Well, yeah, the one that's what we want it to be called. But yes, it's essentially. I'm sure they'll bring him back for that. But I'm saying beyond that, they might bring him back in other Marvel movies, perhaps for the last appearance he's got in the thing. So we'll see.
If I was a betting man, I would say the wild card 3rd appearance would be Multiverse of Madness,
Hey, there's an idea. That's a good idea. Yeah, let's do
and they
that.
can revert him back to having the mustache and
Mm.
and the head of hair and everything. They could get back his Raimi look.
Yeah, and Raimi, of course, head in the film. Why not? Sounds great. I'm
And
down
I
for it.
still think we're gonna see Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in that movie.
Yeah, well, originally in Spider-Verse, they wanted to get all of the original Spider-Man in there.
I know.
I want to say that was one of the original pitches for that, but you've already heard it. Okay, so yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, so new Tenet trailer, Dragon. I'm getting really worried about this movie because I genuinely do not know if movie theaters are going to be open by July at this point.
I think Nolan's gonna be the only guy sitting in that theater at the end of the day where it's like, come on! Nolan's
You
cheating
know
himself
what?
to.
I feel like Nolan would be self-satisfied if he was the only one sitting in the theater.
No, you're right. That's actually how it would be. He would just like have a cup of tea and he's like, "Oh, this is not bad. This isn't good. This is pretty good." But he's gonna be like the guy chaining himself to the movie theater if they're like bulldozers or anything. Like, "Hey, we're closing it down." Like, "F you, no, the movie's open. I say it is. Going in there. Gonna watch Tenet." But seriously, I want Tenet to be the first movie we come back to, honestly. But again, I don't know if it's gonna happen.
But what do you think of the trailer?
Yes, the trailer. So again, it's Nolan going next level, man. I mean, the whole reversing time angle. He's been building to this for his whole career, especially with Memento. He's been always flirting with the usage of time, how we edit things. I mean, Dunkirk was him getting the car. I feel Dunkirk was him getting Dunkirk. Sorry, you gotta say it that way. It was him getting the carte blanche to make a movie like Tenet. Again, it's kind of Nolan doing his movie to satiate the crowd. That's also a good movie, but then kind of gives him the credit. Okay, now I'm gonna experimental things. And Tenet definitely feels like that. It's got some really impressive stuff in there. I did notice something. The Robert Pattinson character.
Yes.
Doesn't he look like Nolan?
A little bit. A little bit, yeah.
right?
He's kind of,
Just enough.
yeah.
He's doing
But
an
you know
Englishman.
me, Dragon. I'm a big supporter of Robert Pattinson. I think he's got it in him to do some great stuff as an actor. I think he's already done some great stuff as an actor. So I'm excited for him mostly, but also John David Washington. Yeah, because John David Washington, he kicked ass in Black Klansman.
He did.
Man, so I'm excited.
If before even Robert Pattinson was even flirted around there, I was very sold on John David Washington and Christopher Nolan movie because of his performance in Black Klansman. He shows a lot of promise as an actor. I'm very, and I love that he gets a Nolan movie next. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
All right. So Clark Green kind of brought. Maybe we should do a little bit of rapid fire news here, Dragon. So he says the We Bear Bears movie is coming out digitally on Monday. That's cool. I need to. I still need to watch We Bear Bears. We actually just did an animation podcast, and I feel like We Bear Bears would be something where I'd be kind of embarrassed if someone asked me about it and I hadn't watched it.
I gotta be honest.
It's up there.
We Bear Bears. I've seen a few clips of it. It looked really good.
Yeah. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It looks pleasant. And it's on Netflix.
Yeah, also Nickelodeon and also a bunch of other TV stations put their Declaration of Kids' Rights on their screens on June 2nd as a tribute to George Floyd. So good on Nickelodeon. That was a nice tribute there, a nice moment of somber remembrance. Tuca and Birdie got picked up for season 2 by Adult Swim. That's news. That's exciting. I still need to watch Tuca and Birdie. It's definitely on my list. It's kind of one of those things like whenever I get in the mood. Um, but and then Sonic sequel. I am excited for two things about the Sonic sequel. Miles, Tails, Prowler, sure. I'm excited for Tails. But mostly, Knuckles is my favorite Sonic character, so I'm more excited about Knuckles. And I'm also excited for fully formed Jim Carrey Eggman, because Jim Carrey doesn't really become Eggman until the last scene of the movie. So, like, if we get a whole movie of Jim Carrey Eggman, I'm going to be really excited.
I'm sure that'll be great. I mean, Jim Carrey's the Eggman, like fully formed, will be great. I mean, he
Yeah.
did show promise. I watched clips of the Sonic movie and watched the thing from start to finish. Like online, they kind of pull out like basic clips from sparse parts of the movie. Again, he looked like he was having a good time, and again, towards the end there, I got to see what he looked like as the full-on Eggman. Looked pretty cool.
Oh, okay. And that's it. Any other news? No. Okay. All right. Let's move on to TV. Can we talk about Avatar yet?
Not yet.
All right.
Getting there. You have to earn it.
Oh, God. Okay, so prop culture. I don't really have much to say about this one that hasn't already been said on our podcast we did about it. I think it's a very well done show. It's definitely comfort food. It's very much comfort food. I love that, like, each episode kind of has an individual story to it. It's like, hey, let's fix up this Flynn's arcade sign, or, let's reunite this person with this long lost prop or something like that. And it's very watchable. It's incredibly bingeable. I found it very easy to binge.
Yeah, I keep using the analogy. It's a show and tell of the highest order. That's kind of what the show is. It's informative, and I like the arc within the episodes. Like we got to fix the Flynn's arcade sign. We got to do stuff like that. And of course, I like that there's like, I think the episodes that definitely drew me to it, but also really paid off and how great they were. The Nightmare Before Christmas episode, Roger Rabbit, and of course the Muppet movie. I mean, those three were the MVPs of the whole thing. They were the highlights, and again, they had like the great kind of emotional crux throughout them. Roger Rabbit and kind of the informative production side, Nightmare and kind of like we're kind of tracing Jack's fathers in a way, which is really cool. And
yeah.
And the Muppet movie was just it was the most heart-meltingly awesome part of that whole series.
I got to tell you though, the one that really sticks with me is not necessarily for like the heart, the heartstrings of it all or anything, but I really like the Tron episode.
There are no clunkers in this, folks. I'm just highlighting what, for me, I think, like the big mind blown. But you're right, that was nice, though.
The Tron episode was really good because it had that really compelling framing device of, getting the neon sign to light up. And then also what I liked about the Tron episode was that those props are really freaking rare. It's like when you think of Tron, you don't think of props per se. So that, I don't know. Anyways.
All right. Okay, next, Clone Wars. So basically, I believe, carried into the beginning of May, which is why we didn't talk about it last month. The Clone Wars series finally wrapped, and I don't know if I've ever talked about it because I binged Clone Wars getting up to the start of season 7. So I'm not sure if I talked about Clone Wars. I'm going to keep the Clone Wars as a series brief, and then mainly talk about 7 here. So keep it simple. I finally finished the Clone Wars that I've always been trying to do here. Dave Filoni. It's kind of like Dave Filoni's prequel redemption. That's basically the best way I can kind of sum up the Clone Wars. He redeemed the prequels so well in this show, guys. He really did. It's very good. I keep finding
that and one good place speech in a certain show that we'll talk about later this month.
Yes. Well, yeah. Let's see. Here's the thing. I kept finding myself, even though it doesn't really work in the movies, but in the show, I kind of melted for it. I love the Anakin Padme romance in the show. I think it's so great. I was like a giddy little schoolgirl whenever it happened. Like, oh my God, look at it, they're so cute together. It's like, yes, like these little romantic moments.
That's between. A big sell because it's easily the weakest part of the movies.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying. It's crazy, but it works here. It's like they have this secret marriage, and oh man, they love each other. They can't be together. It's adorable. And it's just really like love on the sly, man. It was nice. So let's see. So we, I'll admit, the only place where Clone Wars really drags are like 2 arcs in season 4 that drag. Like we go like Mon Cala, which essentially is like an undersea planet, which kind of bores. Yeah, it gets a little boring after a while. And then we have the General Krell stuff. The Clone Wars guys are going to know what I'm talking about. The General Krell stuff. But basically, we're following the troopers for a spell. I mean, Captain Rex was good. It was a decent story, but again, off focus. Always kind of took things a little off focus for like 2 arcs roughly in a row, which is a little much. So again, after season 4, and then it picks back up with Darth Maul and everything. So good show. I highly recommend to you, Tiki. It's season 7 though. Boy, oh boy, season 7. This is the big link-up season to episode 3. This is where they came back, and they did it up right, buddy boy. They did it up right. So it kind of becomes Ahsoka's story thread. I won't give away any details here, but it's kind of like Ahsoka. You kind of realize in the last season, Ahsoka's been the symbol of the entire show. She's been kind of like we're talking about the niche stuff in between the Star Wars movies here, and Ahsoka fits into that niche, and we get some really cool Darth Maul action. It's quite stunning, and the ending is just perfect. Ending's utterly perfect. Definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I honestly am considering just if I watch it at all, I might just watch the last arc of episodes.
All right. Well, again, I guess you're talking about like the one where the Lucasfilm logo comes back, right?
I guess so. Just the one where, like, basically, I know it's split up into 3 arcs. You have the arc with the troopers. You have the arc where Ahsoka meets up with the street kids, and then you have the last arc.
Yeah, pretty much that's the last arc on where they do like it's like the big guy the last arc starts with like the old Lucasfilm logo comes back and it's really
cool. That's cool.
So I think you're gonna. I mean, do you, Tiki? I wouldn't do it, but I mean, by all means, see where it takes you.
I just don't have the time to watch through the whole show, man.
I get it.
All right.
Well, you're saying you did have time to watch.
Yeah. Solar Opposites, in large part due to Claude Bringer requesting it.
Yeah.
So, I had a lot of fun with Solar Opposites. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I think, Dragon, you and I both agree that the big strong point of Solar Opposite is the Wall storyline, and episode 7 is really the kind of the linchpin of the whole season, I think.
It is. I mean, Solar Opposites as a show entirely, it grows on you. It basically, it's more character than story until you get to the Wall, which has been building on the sly, and then it becomes like a grand story, and it's quite great. It definitely shows potential for a season 2. I feel. Which they are getting, I think. I'm pretty sure they're getting a season 2, and of course, Roiland and Middleditch. I love their chemistry together. I just love the little. Again, as I'm saying, I just love this Corvo and Terry character. These 2 characters, they're quite fun.
All right. Upload.
Right. Okay.
I'm interested
so this
in this one.
Yeah. Oh, Tika, this was the highlight of my month, man. I loved Upload so much.
Okay.
It was. Yeah, because this is Greg. Okay, this is Greg Daniels, the guy who brought you The Office and King of the Hill and stuff. He worked on King. I forget how involved he was. No, he didn't create King. Though he worked. Right. Anyway, so Greg Daniels, this is his brilliant new Amazon show, competing with Mike Shore, the other guy from The Office, the one who played Mose on The Office, guy with the neck beard, guy who does Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Good Place. This is kind of his competition with The Good Place in many senses of the word, but Greg Daniels it's like a hold my beer moment. It's like, okay, Mike, I gave him work on that show. Oh, nice. Hold my beer. Let me show him that stuff. Nothing to get The Good Place again. They're 2 very different shows, so don't take too much stock in that. But essentially, Upload, Tiki, it's a sci-fi what if. Like, what if instead of rolling the dice on an actual heaven when you die, that when you're sick or you're dying or you have like a will or something made out, you plan on uploading yourself to a digital heaven. Like place, and essentially it's like a resort home, but you're digitally there, and you get immortality. It's like immortality at the cost of being a burden to your family, whoever's paying for the heaven experience, ever uploads you and kind of keeps tabs on you after you die, the extended family.
Interesting.
But also you're kind of you could also be wiped out with a click of a button. So that's kind of the tension there.
Oh, man.
It's immortality, but again, if you tick off the wrong family member, or if they can't make the payments, or if something happens, get your brain.
Yeah.
Then if your body doesn't exist, they vaporize your body. You'll see how that happens. I won't tell you how, but it's the point being, there's a lot there. Robbie Amell, Stephen Amell, the Green Arrow's brother, who was also in The Flash. Remember Firestorm from the first season of The Flash, guy who kind of melded together Point being, Robbie
Vaguely.
Point being, they let that show do other stuff. He wasn't in it long, so he was basically in that season alone. Anyway, sorry, Robbie Amell. He and the girl in the show, Andy Allo, who is a singer who is like, she's an up and comer. She hasn't been in a lot of stuff. She made like a guest spot in Black Lightning and stuff here and there. Not a lot there. These two had amazing chemistry. They were the heart of the show, man. It's like they were the next Jim and Pam, and that's big talk for a Greg Daniels show. They were the next Jim and Pam, man. It's a very compelling relationship. Great. The girl was fantastic in this show. Tremendous world building, decent mystery, kind of like through a line through the show. And there's definitely room for a season 2. And good news, it's getting a season 2. So Tiki, you gotta check out this show, buddy.
I'm intrigued by the premise for sure.
So good.
I didn't know that. I knew about the basic premise. I didn't know the stakes were so high.
Oh yeah, you're gonna fall again. The first episode, if you don't fall for these two crazy kids, I don't know how the series is gonna be for this. Robbie Amell character is very likable. He's very relatable. He's very interesting.
All right. Okay, can we talk about Avatar yet?
No. Wait.
All right.
No, I'm sorry.
What?
Check my baby column here. No.
Okay, Rick and Morty season 4. I feel like we've done half-hour podcasts on every single one of the episodes, and I should say season 4.5. Dragon, honestly, I think this is one of the best runs of Rick and Morty we've ever had. I think episode 9 was probably the weak point, but even that was a pretty solid one. And other than episode 9, I think all 4 other episodes were great. Like, very, very solid.
Again, I think they're easing into the renewed series of it all here. Again, they've been renewed for a whole number of seasons. They're really taking their time with things. So I do feel, in a sense, they kind of repeated season 3, which isn't a bad thing because season 3 was good. But again, season 3, by the same token, again, when we come back into the second half, we're blown away by a couple of episodes in a row, and then there's 9, which kind of takes a step back, and we bring it home with the finale. So I can live with that sort of thing. It just feels like, man, I hope they're going to kind of spice things up in that first.
But
half.
Even with season 3, I feel like the highs of season 3 are not matched by the highs of late season 4. Honestly,
I think that's a fair point.
I feel like late season 4, just between the story train and the
Vat of Acid episode.
The Vat of Acid episode, but the Prometheus episode too. Primordius, yeah. And then the finale was epic. And then we had episode 9, which was fine. But just those 4, Dragon, those 4. It's a shame that episode 9 couldn't also be a real heavy hitter.
A shame. They could have got the full straight, but they didn't.
But not that episode 9 was bad, it was just the worst. The worst episode of the show for me is probably the Mad Max episode.
And you really did. I keep forgetting you really didn't care for that Mad Max episode.
Given
really your love of Fury Road, it always shocks me that you really didn't like that episode.
But that's the thing. That's why I don't like the Mad Max episode. Is that it feels like it's just like, this is just Rick and Morty doing Fury Road. I don't know. It felt way too much like a basic parody. It's kind of like why Rick doesn't like to parody Star Wars,
Right.
Anyways.
Next would be Dead to Me Season 2.
My grandma floated the show out to me, and I had no idea what it was.
I really like this show, man. I don't know what it is. It's just like Dead to Me is basically it's a show about the complications of friendship. You have it's Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini. The first season, again, I won't spoil it. Just trust me, man. It's worth checking out. It's that these two ladies become friends under really unusual circumstances, and one of them's keeping a secret from the other during the whole season. We kind of flip it around in season 2. Okay. So now Christina Applegate's keeping a secret from Cardellini. Jen and Judy, it's their kind of the 2 J's, if you will, their character names. So season 2 is a new secret on Jen's side of the fence here, and basically, there's a personal layer to this season, the personal layer to the story, because Christina Applegate, because we kind of encroach a little bit on her real life in places towards the end of the season, which is really interesting. Where in real life, she's a breast cancer survivor, and we kind of it's not inherently in the show, but it kind of comes into vogue, and then it really kind of comes into play in the last episode. So it feels like it's becoming increasingly more personal for her. It's kind of a comedy drama sort of thing. It's a tragic comedy is what they call it, because it's based around the whole series is based around a tragic event that then finds comedy within it.
Gotcha.
They have a really odd device for James Marsden. I'll say that much in season 2. I don't want to give it away. It's a really odd device because James Marsden was in the first season. They find a way to bring him back for the second. It's really weird, but funny. And I think they earn it. It's debatable. I mean, you have to judge that for yourself. The season 2 is about forgiveness. It's about forgiveness for bad things. It has a great ending. I kind of don't want it to get another season. It hasn't been approved because it has like a really nice, has a really kind of solid. If it never came back for another season, they'd be good. But there is a hanging chad though that they say if they. It sounds like they really want to come back for season 3 because of this hanging chad. So we'll see how it goes. But definitely a show that's getting a lot of attention and warranted attention. Plus, first season has Ed Asner, Tiki.
Nice. All right, so Trial by Media, Dragon, I will admit that I only made it into the first episode before going on my Avatar binge. So, however, that being said, I've got a lot to say about the first episode. I loved the first episode. I thought the first episode was just really well edited. I felt like the lawyer in the first episode was like the real life Saul Goodman and was wonderful. It was just a fascinating dive into the impact that trash TV has on an individual. So tell me, Dragon, is the rest of the series that good?
I think it's of the same quality, but here's the thing for me. I don't know if you have this, is that with Trial by Media, I like it when they're taking the more notable cases of the ones that relate to the whole media circus trash TV of it all. So, the Jenny Jones show, basically that's the first one you have. Basically, it's about all the shenanigans with the Jenny Jones show. It's all about trash TV and how the media kind of screwed all that up and like how people are like thirsty for like kind of a spectacle and everything. See, episode 2, I believe, is the Bernie Getz episode. So of course, the Subway Vigilante, famous episode. That one I'm all for. I wish the rest of the episodes are a little bit more like those first 2. And it's not that they.
That the interesting subject matter would kind of taper off. Because it's hard to top that that Jenny Rose story.
Yeah. Certainly, and that's the thing. So I think we get maybe another Saul Goodman-esque lawyer throughout the season, though. So you can be on the lookout for that if you go back to it. I think there's like another like a very kind of TV-ish TV camera happy lawyer.
You got to admit, this guy he had the blonde hair. He had the
no. I agree with Tiki. I agree with you absolutely. He is very Saul. I'm just saying. I think there's another one of those guys in the season as well. It's also very eerily similar to. Jamie McGill, if I'm remembering correctly here. So, I mean, I would like to see more of this show. If they did more Trial by Media, I'm down for it. So I hope they go a little bit more notable with the cases. Like I'm not saying do an OJ, but I mean, I wouldn't mind an OJ.
They don't need to do OJ.
They don't. I'm just saying if they want to do cases like that or like cases we don't know, but they're kind of in line with like a little bit more like again. I think the Bernie Getz thing was like the perfect episode of the thing, along with the Jenny Jones. Like, those two are the perfect example I was looking for in this. And then we get a little bit more obscure with the cases. That's all. But again, nothing against this.
That's
so we'll see how.
About. Okay. So can we talk about Avatar now?
No, not yet.
You're going to make me sit through you talking about Working Mom Season 4 before we talk about Avatar.
By design,
I just want to state that for the reference. I just want to state that for the reference.
All by design. Good things come to those who wait, Tiki. All right. Okay.
Also, really quick, Clark Ringus just bringing out some shows that got nominated for daytime Emmys. We got Milo Murphy's Law, DuckTales, Big Hero 6 the series. All really cool. Also, Paget Brewster got who voices Della Duck, got nominated for a daytime Emmy. That's really cool. So nice, Claude Ringus. Thanks for keeping us informed there.
All right, I didn't know she did the voice of Della Duck.
Yeah, she's really good.
I still haven't gotten the season 2 with DuckTales. So anyway, okay. Working Moms season 4. So again, I also really like Working Moms. This is a funny show. It's Catherine Reitman, the daughter of Ivan Reitman. She has done this show, and it's basically kind of based on her life, as a working mom. And basically she had a little bit of postpartum depression after she gave birth to her son, who actually appears in the show sometimes, like as her son in the show, which is really cool. And her husband plays her husband in the show. It's as close to real life as you're going to get with Catherine Reitman in places. It gets really funny, Tiki. It's a Canadian show, so it airs really odd. So basically, the season 4 was well done, so they just uploaded it to Netflix like within this month. So that's kind of how that works. So it's The last season ended on a cliffhanger. This is like a really great, like, that opens perfectly on a cliffhanger. Not right where it left off, but like, you're wondering, oh God, what did she choose? What did she choose? And like, oh, that's what she chose. It's like a really nice build up to it, like the opening of the season. It's kind of like the big parental questions we approach this season are like, what if your kid is a few things, like what if your kid is born as an ugly baby? Like, how do you, like, the kid you work so hard to conceive, like you do like all the in vitro and everything, you work so hard to conceive, that ends up being an ugly baby. So we covered a little bit of that. Let's see, there's like, what if the husband that had an affair and cheated on you, you took him back, and there's like a whole thing where you kind of earned his way back, but your friends don't respond well to him. Like, how do you deal with that situation? Like, you know, what if your child, the fear that your child won't be self-reliant, the fear, like, if you do everything for your kid, like helping out in the morning, putting the shirt on him, or like teaching, like, if all of that, like, will the kid like be screwed up for life? Like all the fears like a mother would have. Really good stuff. Like, there's a lice outbreak. My favorite character, Val, she's in it. So like, there's a lot. It's a fun show, man. I guess. No, this episode is actually a shorter season. They made it 8 episodes instead of the 13 they usually go. Well, yeah, instead of the 13 they usually go for. Yeah.
All right, so Dragon, can we talk about Avatar?
Oh, all right, go on.
All right, folks. So yes, Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is one of those shows. I got to admit, Dragon, they did not know how to market this thing when it was first coming out. Because I even looked back on like old commercials of it. It's like, oh, check out Aang, the wacky boy in the iceberg, and he's got some wacky. He's doing some wacky airbending powers. Oop-de-doo. And Dragon, oh my God, this show. So yeah, I don't even. It's probably the best animated show ever made. I'm just gonna be straight up there. Just the visuals, the character development, it's all so good, Dragon. It's all so good. All the tension, all the world building, all the creature designs. I will say, out of the 3 books, I think book 2 was definitely my favorite. Book 3 was great, but book 3 also had some of my least favorite episodes. Like, what was up with that with that Footloose episode at the start of book 3? Dragon?
Yeah, that was a weird one. That's the thing. It's, you know, I like the idea of Aang going undercover, but by the same token, it was like, yeah, well, why don't we really, the whole banning dancing thing? I don't know what to deal with that.
Yeah. But I mean, just the thing that there's so many things that impress me about the show. So many things, but just the tension throughout the show, just how I love how we just keep ratcheting up the tension, you know, where by the time we get to season 3, Zuko in season 1 almost feels like he was a non-threat. But while we're in the thick of season 1, he's like the most terrifying person in the world. And I love how the threats kind of just like ebb and flow like that. And I mean, even Azula, who is just, I mean, quite frankly, folks, I'm going to say some nasty language here. Azula is a bad bitch, all right?
So like, I want to get this in.
Yeah.
Azula is one of my favorite Grey DeLisle's performances. I think it's possibly her best performance ever. It's so good. I mean, she made that character terrifying, but so calculated and specific, and there was also her downfall. So many brilliant things about that character. You found a little bit of humanity in the 3rd season.
And yet, yeah, in episodes like The Beach, which, by the way, I think The Beach might be my favorite slice of life episode in the series.
It was a good one.
We got to see an entirely different side to her. I fucking love that a character that scary and that sociopathic, we can still like laugh at her, like, oh, isn't it funny that she can't talk to boys, you know?
That armor's really that shirt's really really sharp, Chad. So sharp, we can seriously got like an Imperial battle cruiser or something.
God. And I mean, I just think that Azula's crew is absolutely perfect. I mean, Ty Lee and May, yeah, they're perfect, Dragon. They're just the perfect foils.
Oh yeah.
And then we get to season 3. I think season 3 is a little bit of a mixed bag. It's not as much of a mixed bag as season 1, because season 1 definitely had like,
there are skippable episodes in season 1 for sure. Yeah,
definitely. And season 3, I just don't necessarily feel like like both of the first two seasons sort of had this bombastic pace to it, and then season 3 was a lot of like strategy and and waiting around. And
season 3
really
kind of got broken half, Tiki. That's why. So
yeah,
when they were airing
right,
them, you had the
right.
eclipse, and then after the eclipse, that's
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, but Dragon, I gotta tell you, man, just all the stuff in Ba Sing Se, that whole conspiracy. When Azula breaks into Ba Sing Se, that might have been the most emotional I ever got in the series. Just like
the big moment of change at the end of season 2, like what side will Zuko go to? It's a huge moment. Of course, let's talk about the MVP of the whole series.
Just Iroh in general. Just
Iroh in general.
Of Iroh.
Iroh is a perfect character. He's one of the finest characters that come from Avatar. So, I mean, he and Zuko.
Are there any particular episodes you're curious about my reaction to?
Well, I mean, I already got your take on Tales from Ba Sing Se. What did you think about Appa's Lost Days? Kind of build that too.
That broke my heart, man. That was the most hard to watch episode of the whole show.
What did you think?
A little bit.
I learned that you really like Sokka, right? You really like.
Yes.
So, what did you think about in season 3 of the Sifu, the master, who taught him sword fighting?
Oh, I really, yeah. All that stuff is.
That's
great.
What I was hinting at with some of the Sokka stuff. Like he learns sword fighting
the
meteor sword.
Sokka is just a character that just from the moment he meets Suki onward, it's just he is nothing but character.
I know,
and I love that. I love that.
Oh, the Yue thing is heartbreaking, though. What happens with Princess Yue?
Oh my god,
Season 1 ended on a big note. Again, season 1 has some good episodes too, like the blue. I love the Blue Spirit stuff so much. I love the idea of the Blue Spirit and the whole the storm where we do the flashback on how Zuko got his scar. And everything with Iroh is gold, and of course, I mean, you saw the bombastic.
I think
finale.
my favorite part of season 1, I think, was just being able to just to kind of breathe in that world without all the political treachery going on in season 2 and 3. Season 1, I feel like, is the season that excels the most in just sheer world building, because it literally, I mean, that's the nature of a first season, right? You literally have to just literally just, I'm saying the word literally way too much. I'm sorry, but you have to, you have to write out the entire world. And man, I have not ever in any form of fiction come across an entire world as well realized as the world of Avatar.
Now you see why I said the Avatar guys would be great if they do like a young Bruce Wayne show in animation. If you saw Brian Konietzko and Mike DiMartino do like a world traveling Bruce Wayne show based on what they did here.
Sure, but honestly, I don't know. I don't even know if I'd want to see them do something that doesn't have fantastical elements to it, though, because I'm in love with the fantastical elements.
Okay, here's one I want to know, because you were really interested to get to this episode. In season 3, the play, the Ember Island Players.
Oh God, I love it. Honestly, Dragon, that episode is probably going to be the episode that I'd rewatch the most.
And remember, that's them taking pot shots at the movie.
Sure, and also pot shots at the Great Divide.
Yeah, that too. It's just a lot of basically it's a self-referential look right before they start the big action that's going to close out the season. Oh, one of my favorites, the episode where Katara and Zuko they get revenge on they go to get revenge on the murder of Katara's mother.
That was probably the most compelling that Katara ever got in the series for me.
So good, man. Of course, the great Mae Whitman, who's on Good Girls, by the way. If you want to see her in action, she's on Good Girls.
And then the bloodbending episode, I think we absolutely have to get to the bloodbending episode.
Yeah.
In the next fucking holiday hijinks.
Yeah, I mean, you think it warrants it, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Absolutely. Of course.
Oh, God. Never has Tress McNeil been so terrifying. Okay.
And Toph Bayford. Just amazing character.
Bayfong. Where are you getting Bayford from? Bayfong.
Where am I getting Bayford?
No idea. God. Anyway,
I think I'm getting it from like Lord of the Rings or Bayfong. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, Toph is cool too.
Yeah.
All I can say is you're gonna love Korra, man. You gotta watch Korra. It's the Batman Beyond of Batman.
Korra might be. How many books is it?
4.
Okay. That's going to take me a little while longer to watch than Avatar. So
well, I think it's shorter seasons though, Teak. It's shorter seasons.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think it's like 12 a season, so I think you're.
Oh, nice. Nice. That's actually a little bit shorter than Avatar.
Yeah. There you go. Well, again, fourth book, so it balances out enough.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay.
All right.
So let's see. That brings us to yes, Space Force.
Seen this on Netflix. I don't know anything about it.
This is an interesting one. So this is the other Greg Daniels show that came out this month. So we read two of them in May. So Space Force. This is Steve Carell and Greg Daniels show here, where it's a political satire of kind of our world today in regards to the space program. It's basically the what if of the next stage, if basically let's say the world's problems allowed us for space travel a little bit more, which they kind of did, but more like from Tesla. But let's not dwell on that. The point is, what if the military or the government was actually elevating the Air Force into split a branch of the Air Force into Space Forces, and what's the next logical step of air? Well, space, because we're going to have war on the moon, right? We're going to have war in space once we get up there because we're so confident. Again, it's like literally our world today. They say POTUS. They don't say who, but they say POTUS, and I think we can fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
I'll say it. That's all I'm going to say on that front. Point being, long story short, it's like it took a while to grow on me, but it did grow on me. Like the thing that sold me on the show, Tiki, is the dynamic between two of the lead characters, Steve Carell and John Malkovich. John Malkovich is so good in this show. He's so fun. Like Malkovich is
dynamite. It's a pretty dynamite cast there between.
Yeah, it's got a great cast. Like Fred Willard plays his father. He just kind of guest stars, like basically cameos now and again. He's a military general. Lisa Kudrow plays his wife, who essentially the premise is he's a general. Steve Carell's a general, and his wife got thrown into prison. And he has a daughter he's kind of raising alone now. But anyway, so a lot of that, it's just kind of Carell's like kind of a bullish general, but has a good heart and he listens to the reason, but he's always like the bluster of the military. And John Malkovich is a very anti-war guy. He's like, why do we need guns on the moon? You know, is that sort of thing. And he's like he's the science, like he's the engineer, he's the scientist of the group who Carell has to defer to, but he's his boss though. So it's very interesting. However, one note though. There's one character I despise on that show. Everyone he's supposed to be unlikable, but I just really hate this character. Ben Schwartz, the guy who voiced Sonic in the new Hedgehog movie. I hate Ben Schwartz so much. And I was fine as Sonic when the clips I saw him, but I hate him, and I hate this character he plays. He plays the media guy. He's like, oh God, I want to punch him in the face every time he opens his mouth. I hate him.
Jeez. Okay, and finally, Killing Eve Season 3. Killing Eve, definitely another show that it seems intriguing to me, and I like me some Sandra Oh, so...
Yeah, I talked about the first two seasons. Third one, to give the overview really quickly here, is it's a downgrade from Season 2, but it had bright spots. Eve was a big cliffhanger at the end of 2, so it was kind of a shame we didn't do a lot of stuff with her here. She kind of took a backseat to the action this season, which is kind of I did not expect. Let's see, Villanelle, the Jodie Comer character. She's the kind of Hannibal Lecter of the show, if you will. Basically, if Hannibal Lecter were a hitman, that would be this character. She's great. She's the reason to watch the show, man. I told you before, like she's like if everything we've ever joked about Electra was a character, it would be her.
Right.
So she's a lot of fun. This season we get into her backstory a little bit. We kind of learn about her. She kind of wants to learn about her parents. She's an antisocial character, so she always has trouble relating to people. So she tries to look into her family, and there are dark shenanigans. I'll say that much. So she was the MVP as she tends to be. I got to tell you though, the thing that held the season back for me, I kind of pinpointed to this one character. The character was like the one thing I was off with the first season. Eve's boss, Carolyn. She seems to pump the brakes on Season 3 a little bit because the big mystery plot is all about her. And it's like her in regards to her son. It's like, oh man, really? It's like we don't really get. It's a vague mystery. It's kind of a vague solution. Like we never know what's going on with this character. It just feels like the underlying plot was a little much. So it sounds like overall this is a really filler season, but hopefully not its last. I'll say that much because I wanted to do more seasons of this. There's another one. But this was kind of a filler season, man. Okay.
All right, and so with that, folks, I think we're actually doing pretty good on time for once, Dragon. My God, we're at the actual movies, and we're within the first hour. So, oh boy, May 2020. Dragon, what movie came out in May 2020 that I may or may not have, maybe referenced a few times?
I don't know, maybe something called Scoob?
Oh, God.
Oh god.
The more I think about this movie, the more I dislike it, folks. I could have bought Trolls and I could have rented this. That's what really. I have a copy of this in my Amazon, and I'm never gonna watch it again, ever. Oh God, Simon Cowell, Simon Cowell. What do you think, Dragon?
So Scoob, suffice it to say, mixed bag. No. So Scoob, yeah.
You know
basically,
what's funny is that as time goes on, I don't even think it's a mixed bag. I just think it's bad, like all the way around. I can't think of much positive to say about it.
I mean, look for Scoob here. It seems to be it's a two movie syndrome sort of thing with this movie. Again, one part you attribute to Scooby Doo, which is what I wanted it to be. Other half, while it's basically Scooby Doo and they're updating it for the next generation. The other part, a Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe movie, which two solid ideas. Not a good idea to put them in the same movie. First off, you do Scooby Doo tribute, then maybe the Hanna-Barbera thing is a sequel. I don't know, or at least just do a Hanna-Barbera movie, whatever, and feature Scooby Doo in it, whatever. But again, two movies that should not be combined because basically they're in a position where they overshadow each other any way you slice it, which is a shame. Because again, I think it's a valid idea. Like, hey, we're going to update it for the next generation for Scooby Doo, and basically do a Peanuts movie for Scooby Doo. Why not?
Oh, it's an incredibly valid idea. That's why it pisses me off so much.
And it's a shame because again, there are things in the movie that kind of work in theory, and again, they do kind of work. But again, like then when you put it all together, it encroaches upon itself. You know, it seems Scooby Doo is kind of cursed.
Dick Dastardly looking for Muttley is the one thing that legitimately like is the through line in this movie that I'd be like, okay, I can watch that plot from beginning to end. It's a satisfying arc. There's nothing wrong with it outside of Dick Dastardly's boring robot minions, but whatever.
Anyways, I mean, the Blue Falcon, had he not been connected to all this BS Scooby and Shaggy
Fuck Blue Falcon, man.
But I mean, if you were not attached to the stuff you're really hating about that.
No. I'm gonna take a stand on this.
Really? You don't?
Mark Wahlberg, Blue Falcon is really unlikable, and even Dynamite is unlikable too.
Okay, Dynamite,
even though he's calling out Mark Wahlberg, and they're both just unlikable. It's a mess.
Well, I mean, there are a lot
and
of
then you have Fortnite Skin. I refuse to name her character. She's just Fortnite Skin.
Yeah, and Captain Caveman was also a letdown. Just to get that in there.
I'm getting really, yeah.
Now that you understand how Batwoman feels, right? You kind of get it now.
This movie sucks.
Okay. Anyway, so point being, it just seems Scooby-Doo kind of is cursed for. We just can't get a good Scooby-Doo movie in theaters, no matter any way you slice it. Even if this were released in theaters, it would be the same.
I am sure Monsters Unleashed is Citizen. I haven't seen Monsters Unleashed. I am sure it's Citizen Kane compared to this garbage.
All right. So anyway, so point being,
the first Scooby-Doo movie is Citizen Kane compared to this. At least they knew how to do Scooby-Doo.
Okay,
At least that movie had a mystery and monsters and the gang together for more than one scene.
Well,
fucking Simon Cowell. Fucking Simon Cowell.
Okay, no, just put it all on Simon Cowell.
And they weren't even the rest of the gang wasn't even considering leaving Scooby and Shaggy, and yet Scooby and Shaggy take it personally anyways, and that's literally the crux of the whole story.
If I could interpret the anger my partner is putting out in the atmosphere here just for a mere moment, Scooby Gang, basically
I hate it so much. I hate it so much.
Yeah, see, now I don't seem like much of a crazy man about my Batwoman rant, do I? So, splitting the Scooby Gang up is not an idea when you're trying to sell them again. It's kind of a bad idea, and there's and again, it just seems to be kind of a fundamental trend of like we're doing the supernatural in the Scooby-Doo movies, which seems like, why can't we just do a simple thing where it's a guy in a mask? But like, Scooby-Natural did it so well. Why can't we do it in a movie? I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
Well, that's about it.
Oh God, what a waste! What a waste!
Oh, Claude's was asking about Fred here. Do we dare?
Yeah, I mean, I look. Zac Efron was fine. I don't think they gave Fred much to do.
Daphne was a highlight, though. I like Daphne in that movie.
She was a highlight when she had like 2 funny lines, and that makes her a highlight by default.
Well, still, I mean, not again highlight, not a great, not many highlights, but a highlight. In a Cave of Darkness, a highlight can be appreciated. I don't know about.
But and then of course the other thing that really rubs me the wrong way about the movie. I'm gonna say it again, Dragon. I'm gonna say it again. Shaggy, you said you never leave.
And
it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, the whole Cerberus dog thing with the supernatural, the whole like that BS cop out at the end.
I still don't know how that works. I still like. Did Cerberus like throw Shaggy out because
he did? That's
Shaggy.
Yeah.
God,
I don't get it. Don't ask me for logic on this. All right.
Just give me a Wacky Races movie, please. If they wanted to do Hanna-Barbera, they could have just done a Wacky Races movie.
Point being, in a month where where we were really looking for like the next kind of highlight of entertainment, while we're all kind of not in great shape right now, Scoob was kind of our mecca, and it turned out to be a mirage.
Dragon, I am telling you, Trolls World Tour is way, way, way better than this movie. Also, way better.
Scoob did have a good sequence in it, though. It had like when they recreated the whole opening of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? That was awesome.
Yeah, well, even that was just blatant lazy fan service, honestly.
It was cool, though.
I'm just saying any good animator could have done something like that. It wasn't exactly creative.
All right, Hotshot. Let's move on. Let's.
All right, Dragon. I'm fired up. I need to get another Red Bull. Why don't you talk about Justice League? I'll be right back. Okay.
All right. Okay, anyway, so folks, I watched Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. Now, this essentially is the conclusion to the DC original animated continuity films. Basically, all these continuity-based films based off the New 52. They kept going from Justice League War, and this is the conclusion. Well, technically from Flashpoint. Flashpoint was good, but right after that, we started the continuity, and then things kind of, well, wasn't great. Basically, towards the end of the continuity run for the DC original animated films, they, towards the end of that run, they started to pick up, like, towards the very end of things. It's kind of like, what if the MCU stunk, but like Civil War or Black Panther onward, things started to pick up. Like the last couple movies started to pick up and show potential, and we got to Apocalypse War. So Apocalypse War, believe it or not, it wasn't half bad. It was pretty satisfying. I mean, I gotta enjoy it, and I think you can kind of come in clean enough into it because again, ignore all the BS of all those terrible incontinuity films. All I really know is Flashpoint and this, and that Superman died along the way somewhere because, in part because of Darkseid. That's all you need. You'd be pretty solid. Be pretty set. It's
what's that one dude doing with the Doctor Strange looking portal thing on the poster?
That's John Constantine. He's kind of like the DC. He's like he's kind of
okay.
He's kind of like these. Okay, you're all good then. All right.
Yeah.
So, point being, in a universe all about the build-up, this was a good payoff. I just wish we could have gotten the payoff a little bit. I wish we could have earned the payoff a little bit more. You know, that's the thing. Because the payoff was good, just again a lot of crap you had to sit through to get to the payoff. Because everything was pretty well serviced here, but it's like, oh yeah, I know what they're referencing. I just wish what they're referencing was better, you know. But again, they did a pretty good job with it here. It was just built up. It's just very flawed getting there. Essentially, Tiki, layman's terms, this is the Snyder cut. It's kind of a taste of what the Snyder cut of Justice League could be, but the second part of that movie. This is the big payoff. We're taking the fight to Darkseid. So essentially, what happens here is Darkseid's getting revenge for his early defeat in the crappy continuity line Justice League, where they whooped Darkseid's butt, and he's been planning his revenge ever since. And Superman leads an assault after he got killed and he got brought back to life. He knows Darkseid's behind it. He says, hey, let's go. Let's take the fight to Apocalypse. They do it, and basically they all get decimated. Many people die. It's horrible. And then 2 years later, they're mounting. This is what the second Justice League movie would probably be. They're mounting a last-ditch attempt. A last-ditched kind of a ragtag assault to stop Darkseid 2 years later. It's essentially what this is after the Earth has been kind of become an apocalypse of some sort, and they actually go to Apocalypse. And it's really John Constantine's movie. It's like how Infinity War, in many respects, is kind of Doctor Strange's movie. That's kind of what we have here. Yeah. The John Constantine appeared in one of the movies that actually worked in the continuity line, Justice League Dark, so that's kind of why they kind of found a little niche there. He's Basically, it was an inspired idea that really worked for this movie, where we have some satisfying payoffs like Damian Wayne, Batman's son, who's always an iffy character. We finally got some good stuff with him, where after everything was taken away from him, he became the leader of the League of Assassins, but like he's not like a cold-blooded killer like he used to be. Again, there's kind of the best stuff out of all those crappy Batman continuity films they did. It's got stellar action, actually has a story. Batman is really, again, we finally handled Batman well in this, where he's in a Metron chair. He's like in a Mobius chair, like a floating chair of all the knowledge and everything, where he becomes Darkseid's lackey. He basically becomes Darth Vader in this movie, which is trippy.
Oh, wow.
It stands well enough on its own. Again, Flashpoint you're going to need probably, but again, Flashpoint is a good one. This is a good way to kind of bookend that. So I would highly recommend Justice League: Dark Apocalypse War. It was very satisfying. It's a nice little way to end the long struggle that was the continuity films.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right.
Okie dokie. So let's see. Next up we have a Good Trip, Adventures in Psychedelics.
Well, I watched this too. You turned me on this. I thought it was a series, but apparently it was a movie. Go figure.
Yeah, it's just a movie. It's basically just a talking head movie about people's experiences with psychedelics, both good and bad. Dragon, okay, let's see. How deep into this podcast? An hour and 10 minutes? All right, I'm going to take the risk and say that my grandma is not watching. Dragon, I can't get my hands on much psychedelics, but when I've done it, I've loved it. I love acid, Dragon. I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe we should have been in the bad episode.
I think this episode or this movie makes an incredibly good case for the positive effects of psychedelics, and honestly, Dragon, that's all I've ever used it for. I don't want to get it twisted like I'm some sort of acid head or anything. I've done it like a handful of times in my life, but every single time I've done it has been not necessarily a transformative experience, but goddamn, if it wasn't like a kind of like a weight off my shoulders type thing where, you do kind of get some clarity with the world and your head does kind of, get into a place where you can kind of just figure stuff out. It's an incredibly therapeutic drug. Other stuff I'm not so sure because I'm not that well versed in mushrooms. I've done it a couple times. Other than that, I don't really touch anything else. But yeah, at least as far as LSD goes, I'm pretty, I'm a pretty big advocate for that, and I think that this documentary does a good job of showcasing the effects. And also, Dragon, what I appreciate is that this documentary is not biased. There are definitely a few people who have had very negative effects, very negative experiences, and they're very upfront about it. Ben Stiller is my favorite one.
With the parade and like the Ghostbusters
Right. But I don't know. It's a really interesting exploration into just, the highs, the lows, the positives, and the negatives. But I really just think it's a great kind of case study on if you use it responsibly, man, it can be so beneficial. And Dragon, this is like, I know that you're like kind of opposite of me when it comes to like stance on this stuff.
I'm on the entirely different end of the spectrum on the psychedelics matter.
Well, so the documentary didn't change your mind at all?
No, I meant an actual psychedelics. I mean the documentary. No, I'm saying the documentary.
Oh, okay.
Again, I think acid trip stories are fun though. I mean, like learning, again, Neil Adams spins quite a yarn about kind of an acid trip story, but when he was doing stuff. So yeah, I've heard a few acid stories. I like that as a structure for the documentary. The structure with all the different experiences was a good idea. I'll tell you what didn't work for me though: the whole after school element with Adam Scott. That was a bit much.
Yeah, that wasn't great. I'll agree.
Like the extended after school special kind of interspersed there. I see what they were going for, just didn't play for me. So apparently this is in the works for a while because we had a lot of people who are no longer with us. They kind of popped up in here, like Anthony Bourdain and Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, and of course those two are kind of like big icons in this world. So that was
especially cool Carrie Fisher for sure. Again, she's very interested in pills in the early part of her life. Let's see. the tire story was a fun one. The whole like it was you actually learned it was a church group instead of like a menacing gang of potentially bikers or something that were gonna were gonna do horrible things to a guy. But yeah, it was okay. I didn't stick with me. I can't. They throw a lot at you. A lot of these stories. It's kind of hard to kind of take them all there. But it was a fun idea.
Honestly, that's kind of the point, though, because a lot of it is kind of like sort of replicating the experience that you do get on psychedelics, where a lot of stuff is getting thrown at you. You know what I mean?
Part of me wonders if it would have played better as a series, though. That's the thing, a mini series on Netflix. I don't know, but it was. I
fine. Honestly think it maybe would have.
It was fine though. I mean,
obviously, I got a lot more out of it than you did.
Because, you did certainly.
Past experiences.
I'm all for that. The reason I checked it out in the first place, I was thinking about checking it out, but I did it because you say, "Hey, I'm doing this. Why don't you?" I figure out getting all that too, so we can kill two birds with one stone. I was thinking about checking out for the storytelling aspect of it all, and I kind of got that. So it was interesting. It was fine.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So next.
All right. Let's see what's next.
Natalie Wood. What Remains Behind?
Oh yeah, the love. I'm sorry, I was going to go for it. Yeah. Okay. So tell me about this one.
Yeah, this was on HBO. It was an HBO documentary. It was. You have the daughter of Natalie Wood. Of course, you know Natalie Wood. You know.
Yeah.
Of course, the kids out there again. The girl from Miracle on 34th Street and the girl from West Side Story. Natalie Wood, very remarkable. So her daughter, is basically. We have the daughter of Natalie Wood showing that her mom was more than her famous death. And that's a really kind of powerful way to kind of start a documentary. She's basically kind of going through her mother's life and kind of talking about the things people have kind of forgotten about in years, because now she's only known for, Natalie Wood, she's fallen overboard. No, boy, it's a tragedy and all that stuff. And like, was it murder? Like, was she killed by Robert Wagner? All that sort of stuff. Like, what the heck happened there? So again, it was a whole. So the point being, we kind of demystify that in a really respectful way here. We learned she was a child actor, kind of trapped in fame after she was part of these after like a Miracle on 34th Street and a West Side Story. We chat with Robert Wagner, which is really nice, and I love the sweet relationship that the daughter has with Robert Wagner, which is really nice. It sets the record straight on the whole dubious affair, where he really wasn't dubious at all, and it was basically sensationalized by the media. It was quite good, quite pleasant. Not a revolutionary documentary, but it was a solid one.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right. So let's see. Oh yes, The Vast of Night. You know anything about this one, Dragon?
I know nothing about this, Tiki.
Okay. The only reason I knew about it is that Stuckman did a review of it, and of course, Stuckman. I honestly feel like he's not necessarily the best critic on YouTube, but he is the critic on YouTube where I tend, like his and I's opinions tend to kind of like converge. I feel like he's a great kind of he appreciates blockbusters and he appreciates art house film equally, just like I do. So anyways, he recommended it, and I gotta say, Dragon, it was a good watch. There's definitely some good cinematography in there. The pitch of it is that it's essentially like you're watching an episode of a Twilight Zone style anthology series. In this case, instead of Twilight Zone, it's Paradox Theater. And it starts with like an old school, like, zoom into a black and white TV, like you're entering into another dimension sort of deal, like a classic Twilight Zone intro. It's all about kind of the paranoia of an alien broadcast that may or may not be real, Dragon. That's all I will say. The film takes some twists and turns along the way. I honestly think you might get a kick out of it just because it's got a real old school sort of Twilight Zone sentimentality to it. It's also set in the 1950s, so it's a period piece. It's very much kind of a bottle episode of a movie. It takes place over the course of one night. There's only really 2 locations in it. And it's just a very intriguing story. And I don't, there's no horror elements or blood or gore or anything like that would kind of turn you off to it. It's really interesting the way they do it. My only thing is that I feel like it's a little bit too self-indulgent in terms of like, hey guys, get it? This is supposed to be the Twilight Zone, or we're making a Twilight Zone episode here, guys. And I don't know. To me, it's like if they would have just made a movie that felt like the Twilight Zone, that would have been really cool. And it's still a really good movie. But my only problem with it is that they are very, very self-aware about the Twilight Zone stuff. to the point where it comes across as a little pandering. But I did enjoy it quite a bit, and I would recommend it. It's a really, really good Dragon. It's just, you don't see sci-fi like this these days. That's what I'll say. You just like, this is just very, very smart, meditative, old school sci-fi. It's kind of like the Day the Earth Stood Still, the original Day the Earth Stood Still. It's in that kind of realm where it's less about the horror of sci-fi and more about the unknown and the mystery of it all. So it's a good watch for sure. It's a little self-indulgent, but it's a good watch. All right.
Okay.
Dragon, the Lovebirds, the only reason why I have not watched this movie is that the Big Sick gave such a good sell to Kumail being with the woman that he's with that I don't feel comfortable watching a movie of him dating another woman. I know that's ridiculous, but it just goes to show how good of a movie The Big Sick was.
All right. So the Lovebirds. This is, of course,
Yes.
Kumail's movie here, which Netflix. God, I'm trying to remember what the term is here. Basically, Netflix acquired. That's one thing. Netflix acquired a movie that was supposed to be out in theaters, and we kind of eventually went to Netflix, which is now here. They had the Big Sick writer worked on this. It's it's not bad. It's not bad. I think you might appreciate a little bit more than me. It was funny. It's no Big Sick, let's be honest. How can you be? It's not going to compete with the Big Sick. The chemistry that he has with Issa Rae, I think her name is, the girl in the movie, the couple, of course, the other half of the Lovebirds here. She's their chemistry is great, and it's the reason to check out the movie. They got a really good take on their relationship here, and again, it seems to be the kind of the strength of the Big Sick writer. Knows how to write relationships, knows how to flush them out. Because basically we take a really nicely defined relationship, we put them through a crazy situation that kind of like bonds them as they go along. It's kind of like a literal The Great Race. Is that what they call it? The show where you go around,
The Amazing Race.
The Amazing Race. The base that I'm not joking. That actually factors into the movie. The whole Amazing Race.
Actual show.
The actual show. It factors in a big way.
You see Phil Cohagen?
I mean, I don't remember seeing. I don't remember seeing the host, but I don't think so. But then maybe
I've always liked Phil Cohagen because he's much more subdued than Jeff Probst. Jeff Probst is all energy all the time, and Phil Cohagen is like, well, you're the first team to arrive, and that's going to be my stick every time.
I don't recall seeing the host, so I don't think so. But I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe they worked in there somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, so point being is, watch it for the chemistry. Thank goodness it's no Stuber, because my heart just couldn't take it like another Stuber. Again, I've already coffee and cream. I'm still getting nightmares about.
Oh God.
Anyway, so I'll admit though, I think this might be a little riffy in places, and the plot can be a little iffy as well. It's there's a great logical payoff, but in the end of the movie, but it kind of puts the film's events a little bit in the question. Like, did we really went through all that for kind of nothing in the grand scheme of things with what they do? So it's a lot. It's a good payoff though, so I can't really refute, because it does make great sense. So there I don't know. There's iffy in places, but it's funny, and basically this is the movie you probably should have gone to instead of Scoob in the grand scheme of things.
All right.
Yeah, it probably would have been free, because, well, not free, but would have been via Netflix,
Right.
Anyway. All right.
Okay. So again, we are making good time, Dragon. Let's get on to the catch up.
Yes. So here's a movie we both saw together for the first time. We have never seen this movie before.
Yep. Phineas and Ferb, the movie Across the Second Dimension. And Dragon, I got a big old kick out of it. It's very inventive. I think we can both agree that the dual doofs are probably the highlight of the film.
Certainly, absolutely. The dual Doofenshmirtz. It's so funny. It makes you want to watch Phineas and Ferb. That's kind of the effect. It's perfect branding in a sense. You watch the movie, it's a little adventure. Again, it kind of ties up kind of a loose end within the show. Kind of like what idea haven't we gotten to in Phineas and Ferb within all these adventures? Well, let's have the kids find out the platypus is a spy, and they run with it. Man, it goes into a whole second dimension. It's fantastic. It's got a nice heart to it, and again, it's a nice heart like with how in the way you celebrate the summer. It's like the show is all about like the fun summer adventures. This is like a fun summer adventure in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It really well represents the show. Good stuff there. Good. It was a good time.
All right, mystery movie 1, Dragon. What do you got?
The Lighthouse.
Oh God! Oh Jesus Christ! You probably hated it, right? You probably fucking hated it.
You want me to tell you?
Yes.
All right.
Even I would recommend you watch this, Dragon.
And yet you did.
This is not your kind of movie.
Yet you did way back then. You said, "Hey, check out The Lighthouse."
Oh God. Oh dear.
Which is why I checked it out.
Oh.
So look, I saw potential in a black and white kind of psychodrama of two characters. I saw potential in that. I did, but look, I didn't hate this, but I didn't love it either. It's a bit of a slow build. It gets
it is. I won't deny that.
I think it gets a little too crazy with certain elements like the mermaid and the tentacles and the lighthouse at the top of the kind of the room where the lights kept, all that, like that whole thing where we're seeing these weird tentacles out of left field and slime and all icky stuff dripping from the ceiling, and I'll tell you, here's my favorite part of the movie. I love it when again, of course, it's kind of two Thomases, but take it for what you will. Like I love how the one Thomas insults the other Thomas's cooking. Basically, when Pattinson insults Defoe's cooking, he's like, "You don't mean that." It's pretty funny.
Well, the whole point of the movie is it's almost kind of like, the two characters are almost in this domestic situation, and it's kind of like, it's so fucked up.
That's what I'm saying. But honestly, at the end of the day, a movie, it feels like madness for the sake of capturing madness on film. It's there's not a lot of substance for me to these characters. There's not really a lot. You gotta admit, there's not really a lot to these characters. Basically, their interactions, like you don't really anything we learn about the one guy is like really not much.
Oh boy. Okay. A lot to unpack there. I don't really think it's a movie about characters, Dragon.
Oh, guys, this sounds so pretentious right now. It's not a movie about characters.
It's not. It's like it's like Waiting for Godot. Like Waiting for Godot, it's about two people talking, but really it's not about the two people. It's about life. Oh God. I don't know. I just think with The Lighthouse, it's almost all metaphorical. It's one of the most metaphorical movies I've ever seen. And because of that, it doesn't really matter who the characters are. It's all about the situation. It's all about the experience. It's a guttural experience. Let me ask you one thing, Dragon. What did you think of the sound design?
The sound design was good.
Because that to me is the thing that I keep going back to with The Lighthouse is the roar of the waves, the tome of the lighthouse bell, and just everything, the seagulls, and just everything that
well, that's what I'm saying, Tika. That kind of stuff I did like. I liked the sound. Yeah. Particularly, I like the goal thing. The idea of like when you basically it's bad luck to kill a goal, and when he does that, bad things happen in the fall. That's what I'm talking about.
In a really, really brutal fashion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like the symbol. That's what I'm talking about. I think there's symbolism I can glom onto, but there's also symbolism I just can't glom onto within the movie. It just doesn't work for me. Like that stuff worked like the whole expose about madness. I mean, again, but I just feel it goes on a little too long with like how long we're staying in the madness. Like they're only drinking alcohol with all their rations and everything. It's just like they're just getting progressively drunker and drunker. It's like how drunk can they get, man? Like
they can get pretty drunk.
That's what I'm saying, and then we get the thing you kept quoting like a madman yourself, like you had to go and spill your beans. Which
it is the most quotable line in the movie.
I don't know. It's just it. But point being, it's.
What do you think of Defoe, though?
I mean, here's the thing. I went into it. I feel the Defoe was good, but. The performances were good, but it's like it's not another performance that sells me on Pattinson as a Batman. It's like I see Pattinson in the action. Okay, look, I want to be clear. So again, I still think Pattinson's going to be a fine Batman, but this isn't like giving me like the hope like he'll be the definitive Batman like you're hoping.
Okay, that's fine, but it's a good performance though.
Right? I know.
Like, it might not be a Batman performance.
Did you not hear what I said? It was a good performance, just not a Batman performance.
All right.
What I'm saying, I'm saying it's not one that sells me on him as a Batman, but it's him as an actor. He's doing stuff there. That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
I'm just still anyway. So let's say here's the thing though. I really, frankly, I don't get the ending and the obsession with the lens. Maybe that hurt my viewing of the movie. I just don't get the obsession with the lens. I mean, I like the Prometheus nod at the end. That's good. The whole his fate at the end with the whole Prometheus. He suffers the same fate with the goals and everything. Again, the whole goal connective thing. That's good. But looks into the lens. We don't show what's in the lens, but it drives him crazy. And I don't know.
All right. I didn't think you'd like it anyways. So.
Well, why did you recommend it to me then?
Dude, probably because I was just crazy for it back in the day. And I'm still crazy for it. But
what have you done to me?
Oh God! All right. Okay, so Teacher's Pet. Yeah, honestly, Dragon, we watched so many movies this past month. I barely remember this one.
Oh, come on.
It was fun though. It was fun. I remember liking the musical numbers, and Kelsey Grammer was a fun villain.
Yeah.
I think out of the did we review 4 or 5 for Animation Vacation? I think 5, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 5 because we did Phineas and Ferb. Yeah,
so out of the 5, I think this one was probably the most forgettable, if I'm being honest with you.
More than The Proud Family?
The Proud Family is not forgettable because it's so weird.
All right.
But it's solid. I don't know. Like I said, the best part about it was probably the songs. But I never watched the show, so I wasn't really too emotionally invested into it.
I'm telling you, you're not missing anything. It's all in there.
All right. Well, regardless, it was fine. I liked it okay. It's not anything that's gonna stick in my brain for too long.
All right.
So, in search of the last action heroes.
Hey, Eric, I think you're missing a lot of stuff there.
Oh, geez. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I see now.
Okay.
Mystery Movie 2.
Okay, Mystery Movie 2. Get ready for this. Brace yourself. Uncut Gems.
Okay, I have more faith that you liked this one.
You say that.
Oh no.
I was let down by this one.
I
gotta tell you, the colonoscopy at the beginning was probably a bad omen.
It's 2 hours and 10 minutes of raw suspense, Dragon.
Yeah, that's emphasis on the 2 hours and 10 minutes, friend. Emphasis on the 2 hours and 10 minutes.
But it's raw suspense, though.
Is it, though?
Yes, I think so.
I keep hearing that. I really didn't get... Okay, let me tell you this. Okay, so... it's interesting. This is kind of like the reverse of Good Time, where Good Time, I really liked Act 1, where this, I really liked Act 3. Act 3 is where I really liked Act 3 of the movie. Basically, for me, I guess roughly defined, the auction onwards where I really liked the movie. That's where the suspension really hits. That's where the suspense really hits me. Okay, now I get it. I know it was kind of there in the other parts of the movie, but that's where the suspense really gets palpable. It's okay, this is what people are talking about. Okay, it's interesting. So I respect the premise of this movie. I respect what it's going for. I respect how Sandler committed to a character like this. I liked Kevin Garnett. I like that whole thing. Kevin Garnett's just he's drawn to the black opal like magically. The whole thing of the black opal and the history there, that's really good stuff. So that's what I'm saying. I like a lot. There are elements of the movie I do like. I like the setting, like the idea. But I feel at times in the movie we get really distracted with some tangents. Like in the midst, here's what breaks the suspension for me, okay? And he goes to the school play, and he visits his girlfriend, and he does this, and there's Passover, and it's like a lot of, we really break up I always spend the whole movie to be like, okay, he just keeps making deals and deals, and he's swapping things, and he's gonna keep on going, he's just gonna keep going, but
okay, maybe I'll play devil's advocate and say the point of those scenes is to show that, even when he's trying to do day-to-day family stuff, he's still just his mind is just never stopping with the gambling, and he's just always going to be in that world, even when he's not in that world.
Sure, and I mean, this is a thing. I mean, it was a choice for the movie, so I'm not faulting it too much. But a thing for me is that I mean,
Dragon, I'm not disagreeing with you. The stuff with the family is the weakest stuff in the movie. Sure, I'll agree with you there.
Well, no, my point. I was going to make a point about the gambling, Tiki. Is that
okay?
I see him he keeps gambling. He's okay. This is the guy with the problem. I would have liked at least one moment in the movie where we kind of see he had the opportunity, but he just couldn't help himself. Where it's just we don't linger on is what I'm saying. We just keep, okay, just gambling. So why am I surprised? Oh yeah, of course he gambled money away. way. It's like not like a moment where like, okay, he's going to, but I don't get inside his head at least for a moment.
I feel like this is another thing, kind of like The Lighthouse, where I don't think the idea was to give him a shot at redemption. I think by the time the movie started, this is already a doomed guy. That at least that's how I viewed it. I mean, this is a guy where it's like it's going to be a fucking miracle if he makes it to the end credits alive, and he doesn't. So I don't know. Like, as far as giving him like a shot at redemption or something, I think that's the point. I think the point of the movie is that he's got such an addiction that it's completely overthrown his life, and he can't, that shot at redemption, that moment of change, he passed it by long ago by the time the movie starts.
Honestly,
that's how I view his character.
Honestly, it's less redemption. It's more like survival. Like, oh my god, I wonder if he's going to avoid getting himself killed if he just stops with the game. It's like once his pays off his effing debtors, man. And here's the other thing. So the biggest thing, here's a big flaw for the movie for me. Here's the thing, at least that got me out of the movie. I don't get the whole brother-in-law angle. Like, why the brother-in-law again? Like the big point of the movie is like the brother-in-law is going to be stiff so many times. I think it's his brother-in-law. The debtor is his brother-in-law, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what.
No. You're right.
Because the point being, this brother-in-law in the movie, who he owes all the debts to, which already sounds like a bad idea. Like half of that's on the brother-in-law for like doing business with a family like that. But the point being,
I will agree with you there.
So this is why the passenger scene really bugs me, because again, it's like we sit down with this guy, we actually explain to him calmly, where it's like this whole debtor-gambler relationship is what throws me, especially when you learn it's even personal. Is that okay? So the guy placed the bet that he would have won. But you got in the way, and you're a stupid debtor. I mean, you're a stupid debtor, guy. I mean, again, if he's going to lose more money, he's going to owe you more money. And I know you got to get your money, but still, why didn't you just send your men to rip the envelope out of his hands when they're following him? Instead, you're going to let him place the bets, but you're going to stop it after that? What's the logic? That's what I'm saying. The logic escapes the movie with parts like this. And it just, again, I like the third act, and I like what it's going for. I feel... It's just like these logic holes, and it's breaking the whole suspended thing I went into the movie expecting. I'll say this to you. It's going to break your heart, but I'm going to say it all the same.
Oh, no.
This is the last time I watch a Safdie Brothers movie, okay? It was very overhyped.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair for you, because if you're not into this one, then yeah, you're not going to be into anything that they do, honestly, because this is way more accessible than Good Time was.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's not even like, F the Safdie Brothers. It's like, you know what, guys, I can't get into it. If they can't sell me with this thing everybody loves, I don't think they're ever going to sell me.
It's all good. I mean, I've never been really all that into the Coen brothers myself, so.
What I'm saying, again, the only brothers I care about are the Russo brothers, really. Let's be honest. Okay.
I mean, I still, like, I don't know, like, freaking, I still don't get all the hype surrounding Big Lebowski, but that's just me.
It's not, again, I don't think it's like it's high art, but it's a good movie. It's not great, though. I don't think it's like the tomes of, like, it's the most amazing thing. How do you not know about the Big Lebowski? It's like, it's a good movie.
I think the best thing the Coens ever did was No Country for Old Men.
I keep meaning to check out that Buster Scrubs thing they did, so. It's
oh, yeah, I keep forgetting that's a Coen.
You haven't seen it, right?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, maybe one of these days. I don't know. Anyway, so.
All right. So let's see. Oh boy. Okay, so the Proud Family movie. You'd seen this before, right?
Yeah, that's why it's on you, buddy. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, what a weird movie, Dragon. What a weird movie. I mean,
I warned you.
But they do find a way to tie in the peanut thing. The George Washington Carver of it all. That was a clever twist. But man, all the peanut people in this movie and the island setting, and it's so weird. I don't know. I don't have anything. I don't really have a lot to add.
Does it outweird the Kwanzaa episode? That's all I want to know.
No.
Okay. Are you sure? Because it's been a while since you've seen that, Tiki. Are you sure?
I'm sure, because even with all the weirdness, it's still kind of tied into the show in some way. Like, with the Oscar snacks thing, that kind of tangentially ties to the peanuts of it all. The Kwanzaa
We're talking about the actual food, by the way, folks, in case you haven't seen it. We're not talking about, there's no mystery crossover there.
The Kwanzaa thing is just, I mean, I know it's like, I'm sure it's rooted in some sort of like religious iconography, but just as someone who doesn't know all that much, it's a real head scratcher.
All right. All right. Okay, next would be Late Night, which
I'm so excited to hear your opinions of this because I thought it was trash.
I thought it was it was a nice. It's nice seeing behind the scenes of a talk show. It's kind of a nice setting there. It's definitely a Mindy project for sure. I really wanted to get that in there because it's like, how rarely do you get an opportunity to drop like the Mindy project? Anyway, so Mindy Kaling did this. Anyway, so this it's pretty straightforward and it's nice. It's not great, but it's nice. I mean, I think the low of lows is really forced the whole like affair that she had on a really awesome husband that was John Lithgow.
Thank you. That was I hate it. That's what really rubbed me the wrong way about that movie. Looking back on it.
It's a nice depiction of media response in the writer's room, where basically there's a news cycle that informs the writers, and a news cycle, and if the host does something wrong, she's going to have to live with it the next day. Seth Meyers had a nice cameo. It had a solid cast. Like, I love seeing Hugh Dancy, man. I haven't seen him since the Hannibal show, which, again, oddly enough, is coming to both Netflix and I think Amazon. Right now it's on Amazon, then it's coming to Netflix. Point being, Hannibal is available, folks, so... Potentially going to get a season 4 on Netflix if they keep it around. Who knows? I mean, fingers crossed. That'd be great to give that show an ending. Point being, nice to see Hugh Dancy again. Of course, the wonderful John Lithgow, Paul Walter Hauser. Had a lot of good people. So again, it's just straightforward. It's fine. That's about it.
I completely forgot that Paul Walter Hauser was in that.
Yeah. And Dan Egan from Veep.
You want me to pinpoint the moment in that movie that just pisses me off?
Not the stand-up, is it?
No. It's when she's making the big speech in the third act, the big redemption speech.
Yes.
She's like, I learned a new phrase today. Slut shaming. And it's like the movie is just trying so hard to be political at that point, Dragon. It's trying so hard to earn those sweet SJW points, Dragon.
But also, Mindy Kaling was good in it. I just want to give her points there. She was good.
Yeah, Mindy Kaling has never or will never be my taste, so we can agree to disagree.
You really didn't care for her in The Office, did you?
No, not really. I didn't. I mean, she's probably the weakest part of Inside Out, too.
Oh, come on. She was fine in Inside Out.
But just go through all the characters in Inside Out, and she's probably the weakest one out of all of them.
That's not fair, though. They got really exciting emotions, though. That's not fair.
I'm just saying.
I mean, she was perfect for discuss, but everyone's gonna discuss this.
If anyone's a weak link, it's her. All right, now I'm just going.
Okay,
Greg, I'm just going out of my way to be mean. All right, it's fine.
Anyway, now lift us out of the darkness, buddy. Take on the next one.
Oh boy. Okay, let's see. The next one is. Oh God, Kim Possible. I'm so sick of talking about these animated movies because I've already talked about them, Dragon. All right, Kim Possible. So the drama, it's good. I really like the relationship dynamics with Ron and Kim in it, and I think one of the best things is that it had that twist with I already forgot his name, but help
Eric.
Me out here. Eric, right? That's right, Eric. I should remember that name because Eric was the name of my best friend in high school.
Yeah,
but yeah, Eric. I thought he was legitimately probably the most well-written thing in the movie, just because it's a twist that I should have seen coming, and I legitimately didn't. And they even had that moment where it's like, oh my God, Eric's kidnapped. He can't be a villain. Like, I had my suspicions about him, but
yeah, it was Ricky Ullman. Everyone used to like Ricky Ullman.
Yeah, right. So I thought they legitimately did a really, really great job at kind of misdirection there. And like I said, just it's a really, really, really fantastic way to cap off the show with with Kim and Ron finally getting together at the end of everything. Awesome last scene. I don't know. Overall it's not like I don't think it's like amazing, but and you're the bigger Kim Possible fan, so
all right.
Yeah. Okay. In Search of the Last Action Heroes, Dragon.
Yeah, so this was Oliver Harper's documentary. He's been doing a couple of documentaries lately. This was the basically right now he's doing a sci-fi one. Before this, he did a I forget if the horror one was his first one, and the point he's done 3 documentaries so far, 1 in the making, 2 so far, and this is one of them. I upload on Amazon one day, and like, hey, yay for me! I wanted to see this thing because he charges too much to put in for a DVD. Let's be honest. Anyway, so point being, this is it's lengthy but thorough, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
This is basically his documentary project on the evolution of action films. It covered more than I expected it to. It kind of covered basically going from the 60s to now. Bear in mind, it kind of glazes over the 60s because there's not a lot there, but basically once it ramps up to the 80s onward. That's really where it gets to. But it covers everything, though. Even goes to, I didn't expect it at all to go today. I thought it was just going to be the 80s and the 90s when I came into this thing, but no. It gives you a full picture of how the transition of the business. The narrative is built around kind of this. It's kind of built around the surge of the 80s and the icons that were built from the 80s, like your Schwarzeneggers, your Sylvester Stallones, and how they kind of the lessening effect of them over time, how they kind of fell in over time, they kind of lessened, and kind of the change that happened within the business. We go from a Stallone and Stallone and Schwarzenegger of the 80s to Keanu Reeves of the 90s, and kind of go onward for there. And so we see how we reinvented the action genre. So we kind of explore that in the movie. It's basically it's a really nice tribute. We're going to go to the tribute and the return pieces. As you can imagine, the Last Action Hero movie factors in quite a deal in this one. And Street Fighter. That's kind of a big moment they hit there for the 90s. After we established everyone in the 80s, we hit the Last Action Hero and Street Fighter, just kind of the turn before we get into changing up the business from the action star to the stars who now do action.
Makes sense.
Kind of how last thing I got is this is kind of like how entertainment becomes an art form, like something that people like action movies before they become like a high art form, like a legit genre. It's like they became an art form and kind of genuinely respect to the John Wicks of today. That's kind of what the movie is about, man. It's really fun, worth checking out. I got a lot of good interviews. It's good stuff.
All right. Okay, so let's see. So I checked out Lost Souls, The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau. That's a mouthful. This was really interesting, man. I never knew that this movie even existed. I didn't know anything about Richard Stanley. So this movie was an education for me. And it makes me want to kind of check out more kind of like 80s cult horror movies that Richard Stanley made, because it definitely kind of gives you like an in-depth look at the guy.
Like Hardware.
Yeah, exactly. And his vision, and he's a really interesting guy. I don't know. How do you feel about this one, Dragon? Because you're a big fan of the. I got to be honest with you. I think this is good, but I don't think it's anywhere near the level of something like the Superman Lives or something. The Death of Superman Lives or something like that.
So yeah, I love Anatomy of a Failure documentaries so much. I love the troubled production documentaries. And actually, here's the thing. When you told me about this for a moment, I thought, oh, God, I haven't seen this thing. Then I watched the first. The minute I saw Richard Stanley and his long black hair, I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen this. That's why I had that moment. But I rewatched it because since you brought it up. And then after this kind of inspired me to rewatch Hearts of Darkness, the Making of Apocalypse Now documentary.
Oh, God, that's the best. That is hands down the best making of documentary ever, I think.
It is, but this is a great kind of diamond in the rough of the Anatomy of Failure documentaries. I really like this one. I think
you probably liked it a little bit better than I did. I think it kind of plods along in certain places. I don't necessarily think it has the editing of other more top caliber documentaries of the same style.
I think you're right, and again, it's no Death of Superman Lives by any stretch. You're right about that. Here's the thing. Here's where I thought you were really going to get a kick out of it. I guess you can tell me if you did at all or not. Is that this documentary gets really unique towards the very end, where we have this really interesting thing. Richard Stanley, he never left the production even after he was fired, or he's camped out and he kind of sneaks onto the set with a dog mask on. It's like,
yeah, no, that was all really interesting stuff. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's where the documentary really kind of stands out. Where like a lot of weird stuff happened on this Dr. Moreau thing, which Dr. Moreau was already a weird story. And the thing I kind of call in the rewatch is I forgot how kind of biblical it was in the start. There we saw these really beautiful art paintings of like kind of a very Christ-looking kind of Dr. Moreau, I assume, kind of being carted out. Like that was the original vision of the movie, man. That would have been amazing.
Right.
So it's very interesting how things turned out. And of course, it's always fun to hear a Brando story. Oh goodness! I mean, I did the whole Brando I watched that whole Brando documentary last month, so this was like a treat for me. Like, oh boy, is Brando doing his crazy thing after? Of course, he had all the carte blanche in the world after The Godfather and Superman. Therefore, it was, it's just he was able to get away with anything. Yeah, he did.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Shelby American. I know nothing about this at all.
Well, this was a treat, man. I enjoyed this. This
Really?
was, you wouldn't like it at all, but I love this.
Okay,
This was,
fair enough.
This was, well, I mean, look, I liked, in a perfect world, like, man, Tiki might like this, but let's be honest, no, he's not going to like this.
It's like The Lighthouse.
Not that far, but it's like a documentary you're not going to care about because it's
Okay.
so Shelby American's a documentary. This is a great companion piece to Ford versus Ferrari.
Oh, you're right. I wouldn't care about it.
That's what I'm saying. It's about the Shelby again. Shelby American was the company, and Ford is
Right,
it's Matt
right.
Damon. It's Matt Damon's company. That's basically.
It's funny because when I read this title, I just thought it was like, oh, it's a woman named Shelby, and she's like redefining what it means to be an American. She's Shelby American.
Really? That's what you thought?
I don't know.
Oh, God.
Like Captain
Anyway.
America, Shelby American.
You done?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
All right. Anyway, so Shelby American. This is like what if if Ford versus Ferrari is Ken Miles' story, the Christian Bale character in Ford versus Ferrari. If that's his story, this is Carroll Shelby's story. And of course, Matt Damon does factor into that movie, and he's the other part of the pairing. But this is like all Carroll Shelby's story, man. We get a story as this is a story of a guy who's had a really interesting life. A guy who's like done everything, a Renaissance man. He's like a worldly Renaissance man. The grand storyteller we are presented with in Ford versus Ferrari. We get to see kind of the life the man led. This is a guy who's like the ultimate salesman who kind of coasted through life, and he was given this. Like I learned things I didn't know about Carroll Shelby. Where like he started off as like he did a lot of odd jobs. And he ended up as like a chicken farmer, and he came known as like the chicken overalls racer. Because what he did one day is he raced. He forgot the race was what time the race was, so he ran in his chicken overalls from working on the farm. He didn't have time to change. So he ran there. He got in his car. And he won the race, and they took all his pictures. And he had a gimmick. He had a built-in brand. And it kind of goes about the building of the company. Basically, what if Ford versus Ferrari was a little bit more from his side of things. And there's an element, I wonder if this is how it was in real life versus the movie, but we learned that Shelby had more of a rivalry with Enzo Ferrari than perhaps the Ford company did. I think it was like a mutual. Again, I imagine Enzo Ferrari made multiple enemies with his kind of snooty, like, I make the Italian sports cars, I'm the guy. Versus Ford, basically, he didn't respect Shelby at all. He treated him really rudely when he visited him, and that basically fueled the rivalry. That's why he worked with Ford and everything. So, add a few spokes to the wheel there. It goes into the other. Basically, it also it's a companion piece to Ford versus Ferrari because it kind of elaborates on the text at the end of the movie, where it's like, okay, there are 3 more wins in Le Mans on Carroll, thanks to Carroll Shelby's work on the car. After after the end of the movie, so we kind of explore that. So he was married many times. There's a full circle return to kind of Ford. They kind of works with Ford yet again after they kind of dumped him after a while. It's and there's this beautiful moment where he kind of goes for like a last, as he's an old man before he dies. He knows he doesn't have much time, but he goes for like this is like kind of like I kind of made a realization on this movie is that it's like remember how Kevin Smith fell in love with Wayne Gretzky and the hockey of it all with the story of Gretzky. It's a little bit like that with me here with the Shelby and the Ford versus Ferrari. Oh man, I don't care a lick about racing, but when you frame it like that movie and like this documentary, something nice and compelling about it. It really kind of grabs you. Like he went for the racer went for like a last casual drive around the lake. That's the last thing he did, but he insisted that he drive. Something nice about that. I don't know. I got a kick out of it.
All right. So funny that you mentioned Racing Dragon because my next movie is also a racing movie, believe it or not.
As if someone preordained the organization on that.
Right. Oh boy, Lady Driver, Dragon, the most hotly anticipated movie ever.
Really?
I know one. No,
well, now
definitely not.
Balloon there.
Dragon. The only reason I saw this movie is because it was shot almost entirely in my hometown. And they refer to my hometown by name a shit ton in the movie. And so it's just like, it's like Petaluma the movie. This is great. So Dragon, it's basically like watching home movies, all right? It's like, I don't give a fuck I want to just emphasize, I don't give a fuck about what's going on in the actual movie itself, all right? I could care less. I could care less about, like, oh, girls aren't allowed on the racetrack, but she's gonna prove them wrong because she's a badass. I don't care. I don't... Like, the uncle character is okay. The uncle character who takes her in he's okay. He's got a couple layers to him. He's fine. He doesn't want her to race on the racetrack because because his brother died on the racetrack. That's a layer. That's a character beat. That's something to latch onto a little bit. All I care about with this movie is that they mention Petaluma by name, Dragon, all right? So...
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like you watched the extended cut of Captain Marvel. That's what it sounds like when we had that racing section, and we did all those little brief flashes. We didn't learn anything about Carol's background.
Yeah,
looks like you saw that as a movie. That's what it sounds like from the periphery.
Pretty much. But Dragon, I mean, it is just really fun for people, all the people in the movie to be like, oh, welcome to Petaluma. I don't know. And, they eat at Mr. Mom's Cafe, which is like a block away from my house. And, yes, that's the name of the cafe, Mr. Mom's Cafe. And, the main location is like an automotive store that's like, again, like a block away from my house. So... It's just a trip, Dragon. It's just a trip to watch a movie and be like, literally every location in this movie is stuff that I see on a day-to-day basis. And not only that, but I do think that they get the small town sentimentality of Petaluma right. Like, I really do feel like they actually did try to, whoever wrote this movie, like whoever was behind this movie, they're clearly a local, and they clearly want to give Petaluma a good image, because they really do they do a good job of kind of crafting like a homely vibe that you get from the town. Now, Dragon, in the third act, when when it's just like, oh, she's just racing around the race. Every single movie about racing, I get so bored during the actual race, Dragon. I get so bored. Because I don't know. I just, for me, cars going around a circle a bunch of times, not fun, not compelling. But man, those first two acts, it was like watching home movies. It was like, oh, look, I know all those places. That's cool. All right. So yeah.
All right. Okay. So next would be Code 8.
All right.
Yeah, so this is a movie I would recommend to you, Tiki. This is a good one. This is kind of what's led me to Upload, by the way. This is like, I knew Upload was around, but I wasn't really compelled to watch it. But Robbie Amell is in this as well. Both the Amell brothers are in this. They don't play brothers in the movie, but Stephen Amell plays the Green Arrow, and Robbie Amell played Firestorm. They both are in the movie, and it's Robbie's movie. So Robbie Amell, the guy from Upload, he basically, this is a movie. It's based on a short film. I want to say from 2016. I think it came on Netflix a couple of years ago. I forget if it was a Netflix production, but it ended up on Netflix, and it's been there since. It's basically, what if we had superpowers in our world, like superpowers, but we didn't there are no superheroes.
Wow, I haven't heard that premise at all.
Well,
what a groundbreaking premise.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. Anyway.
What if we had superheroes in the real world?
No, there are no superheroes in the world. I want to be clear. That's all.
Okay.
That's what I was saying before.
Oh, it's heroes. No. I'm sorry, Dragon. I'm sorry.
Just, I'm trying to sell this here, Tiki. Okay, anyway, right. So point being, there are superpowers in our world, but literally in our world. Like, there's no superheroes. There's no heroes thing. It's just like, what if people with abilities were seen as mutants, or as, especially you'll see in Korra, Tiki, like benders in Avatar. There was a stigma with benders. Stigma with kind of like mutants, like we kind of classically have with the X-Men, but again, no heroes. It's basically you're kind of treated like a second-class citizen. So there's a little bit of a symbolism there, where again you're kind of like, basically Robbie Amell plays a guy like he can't really make money legitimate, like his mother. He's caring for his sick mother. His mother also has powers, but her powers are killing her. She has ice powers, which are kind of slowly but surely killing her. And essentially, well, she has a brain tumor, more accurate. It's pressing upon her power, so it's not helping. Anyway, so he's just trying. His mother wants him to earn money on the straight and narrow. Doesn't want him to end up like his father, who essentially had powers, robbed a convenience store, and was killed by cops. Doesn't want that for him. So, he's like earning money. He does like construction, like unsanctioned construction work, which sounds it's like when you get the guys from Home Depot. He waits outside like the Home Depot or something, kind of goes like, with a guy on a truck and basically gets put to a construction site. It's usually how it works. Anyway, one day he comes across Stephen Amell, plays Garrett. We have Connor and Garrett here, two characters, the brothers. He recruits him on a heist, which kind of leads him to the criminal underworld, which basically it's like a really grounded heist movie. It's like a really economized heist movie where it's not all grand. It's not a David Fincher movie, but it's got really nice world building. It's a grounded take on a world with powers, which is really solid. It's again, it's in our reality, despite just there being powers in this world, like he's has electric powers, and Stephen Amell has like telekinetic powers, and basically he trains him how to use his abilities and how to become a force for like a big heist they're pulling in the movie, which, as you can imagine, does not go off without a hitch. It's kind of a nice, again, it feels a little bit like the Albuquerque verse with powers in places, it's like, the stakes aren't too high, but I mean, it's not grandiose, but there is a fight, and there's like, criminals earning money for a good cause in a sense. There's drones they have these drones that they spawn these kind of sentinel-like things from the X-Men called Guardians that kind of show up and they're like a death march practically. It's low budget, but very well done. And it's a very unique piece to get. I'd recommend checking it out. It's not a long movie at all. It's neat.
Okay.
Really neat.
All right. Okay, next up, Michael Clayton.
Yeah, isn't this like have George Clooney in it or something?
Yes, it's George Clooney. Yes, it's probably the best performance that George Clooney has ever given in his entire career. I'll say that much.
Well, I really liked him in Tomorrowland. So is it better in Tomorrowland?
Oh, I mean, yeah, he's better. Yes, Dragon, this is an Oscar movie. Yes, he's better in Michael Clayton than he is in Tomorrowland.
You liked him in Tomorrowland, too.
I did, too, but I'm just saying he was nominated for an Oscar for this thing, all right? Come on.
I didn't know he was nominated for the Oscar. Forgive me. All right, just tell me what the thing is. Tell me what it is.
Okay. I feel like you're going to be sold on it just based on the first sentence of the premise. The first sentence of the premise is George Clooney plays a fixer.
Okay, that's interesting. Go on.
So he plays a fixer for a big law firm. Tom Wilkinson is the CEO. Only problem, Tom Wilkinson, he's really coming down with a really bad case of paranoid schizophrenia. So Michael Clayton is sent in to deal with it after he has like a really bad incident in court where he strips naked and goes on and on about Shiva, the god of death, and stuff like that. Michael Clayton has to kind of step in and deal with Tom Wilkinson. And so the whole movie is basically Tom Wilkinson, schizophrenic Tom Wilkinson, trying to convince Michael Clayton that there's this big conspiracy theory going on with one of the clients of the law firm. Tilda Swinton plays the kind of the I don't know what you would call her. She's basically the public head of the client. She's basically the person who comes in and deals with.
She's the PR lady.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, the PR lady. Yeah, I don't know why I was. Yeah. And man, I feel like this is the movie Tilda Swinton became famous for because she is just on point. I mean, she is a scary character, but by the same point, she's an insanely insecure character. And I feel like, Dragon, I'm like, this might be overhyping it a little bit, but there's a little bit of an Azula quality to her, just in the, she's a very, very powerful woman, but she's got crippling insecurities at the same time, So, I don't want to say much more about the movie other than it's just Michael Clayton trying to figure out if Tom Wilkinson's schizophrenic, ramblings are true or not. Because the movie goes in a ton of different directions, man. It's great. It's twist filled. It's very much in the realm of the Albuquerque verse, Dragon. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I think this came out like just a year or two before Breaking Bad. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Vince Gilligan actually took a little bit of inspiration from this movie because it's definitely like, it's interesting, Drag. Basically, how I would describe this is essentially if the corporate and legal world of Better Call Saul had the stakes of Breaking Bad.
Hmm.
So I mean, I had to pay a few bucks to see it just because I don't know why it was even on my radar. I think it was on my radar because I was looking for movies in the same vein of oh God, what was no The Killing of the Sacred Deer from last month. I was looking for more kind of like psychological thrillers and stuff of that nature, and Michael Clayton definitely delivered. I Am Shiva, the God of Death.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay, that brings us to the Bad Samaritan. Ah, yes, the Bad Samaritan. Or Bad Samaritan, I think it's Bad Samaritan. Okay, point being, Bad Samaritan. This is a movie I think you'd really, Tiki, you would love this. I mean, it's a thriller. It's kind of a not a horror thriller, but it's a really
I do
tense
like
thriller.
me some thrillers, Dragon.
So this is a very interesting. This was a very interesting find, Tiki. It apparently came out in 2018. I found it on Amazon, so if you want to watch it, it's there. It stars David Tennant. David Tennant, it's a very underrated movie, it seems to. The critics don't seem to like it, but I got a big kick out of it, man. David Tennant plays a serial killer in this film. And basically, you have this, the movie is centered around, they have this Irish kid. You have this Irish kid who is stealing from the rich as a valet, basically works as a valet, and he basically robs when he takes the keys, it kind of set in the modern day of 2018. He basically pops in the GPS so they go to the homes of the rich people who are dining in the restaurant. While they're dining in the restaurant, they steal things from their homes and they probably resell it and they get the cash. So they do this with the David Tennant character, who drives a really nice car. He's a real prick. He has an English accent. He's not British for a change. He's an American accent, which is also interesting. So anyway, he goes to David Tennant's place and he's doing the same old kind of rigmarole, stealing. He steals a credit card, like a black card, which of course would give him a lot of money, which would be a big score. But he goes in the office, and what he finds in the office is a girl strung up, and basically she's his next victim in waiting. So he's like a kind of like a sadist killer guy. He's like trying to like break her. Like his whole gimmick is he breaks people like he breaks horses.
Oh shit!
That's his whole like. He tried to break a horse to impress a girl once, and we kind of see that here. So he has like a whole thing with women. He has to psychologically and physically break them down. So Carrie Condon, Mike Ehrmantraut's daughter, Stacey Ehrmantraut from the Eververse, she is in this. She plays the victim, and she's really good too.
Nice.
So basically, the guy sees this girl. He can't help her out, but he's fixated with, oh God, I could have helped her, but I was too scared to come back and risk myself. So what he does, he's trying. We have this. The whole title is like, this guy, he's kind of a bad guy. He's a criminal, but he's trying to do the right thing, trying to be a good Samaritan. He's a bad person, kind of looking for some sort of redemption. He's scared straight by this occurrence. He does everything you or anyone could ever do in this position. You call the cops, but you wait outside to see if it takes. It doesn't take. The guy's thought one step ahead, and it just keeps going. And then the tables turn, where David Tennant now knows that he's onto him, and then he turns his sights on this guy. And it's a psychological warfare. It's an excellent thriller with there's great moral kind of parallel. Like it's a moral divide of the two of them, like opposites. Where again, like David Tennant thinks this idea is so hilarious. Like this guy, he's a low. There's a class divide between these two. Like a low level Irish guy is trying to make a buck versus the rich, privileged guys. Like I do terrible things, get away with it all the time. This guy does terrible things all the time too. But he's trying to do a right thing for a girl he doesn't even know, which is like hilarious to him. So the Tenant's terrifying. I highly recommend this. Of all the movies I've encountered, this one is absolutely up your alley.
All right, cool. You sold me on it. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. Next up, we have UHF. So stupid. You're so stupid.
Is that what this is from?
Yes. Dragon, this is basically just like, all the memes that Doug Walker uses?
Yeah.
It's this movie.
Oh my God, really?
It's this movie.
Oh my goodness. So this is the Weird Al movie, right?
All the memes, yes. All the Nostalgia Critic memes. This movie might as well be Nostalgia Critic meme the movie. I had a hard time watching it in that regard just because I couldn't appreciate the joke just as the joke, Oh God. I mean, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's got a really fun cast. I mean, obviously, Weird Al is the highlight. And Weird Al's great. He always has this kind of like innocent naivety to him that really shines in this movie. But I mean, other than that, we got Fran Drescher as the love interest, and she's really fun. We got Michael Richards as the lovable janitor.
Not bad.
Before Michael Richards went off the deep end.
Well, he's found his way back since.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if any of these other cast members. No, those are the big names. Michael Richards, Fran Drescher. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's a very, very silly movie.
Well, what's it even about?
Okay, it's about Weird Al coming into ownership of a TV station. That's UHF. That's the TV station.
Okay.
And basically dragging its PTV, but with Weird Al.
Okay, well, obviously
that's really all you need to know. That's
pretty
really
straightforward.
All you need to know.
They're probably inspired by this, so it's
Oh, I'm sure they were. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. It's fun though. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a Clue or anything like that. It wasn't like a wow, this is a hidden gem that I can't believe I've never seen. But it was a good time.
Let me ask you something. Was this a 90s movie?
Oh, yeah. Very 90s.
I will raise you another very 90s movie.
Oh, God.
For love of money.
Actually, Dragon, I have to correct myself. It's 1989, actually.
Well, there goes my segue. Never mind then. Okay, let's get to the next one. I had such a sweet... anyway, that's it. Okay.
It feels like it's 90s, though. It's married.
I know, that's why I asked, because it sounds very 90s. Anyway, so my segue now, let's get to the next movie. For Love or Money?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so this I was really interested in because for very simple reasons. This is a Michael J. Fox movie. It's a Michael J. Fox romantic comedy from 1993. It's a Barry Sonnenfeld movie, which I was kind of surprised. Like, oh my God, Sonnenfeld's involved in this. The guy who did Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
Also did RV, so maybe there's a middle ground there somewhere. Point being, God, RV is so terrible. You've seen RV, right?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's so terrible. If you want a bad movie, go to RV.
Well, I like good bad movies, Dragon.
That's the thing. I don't know if it's that. It was like anyway. Okay, so
I don't think it is. I haven't
even seen it.
I know, but I know enough about it.
Okay.
It doesn't look like they were putting effort into it at all. And my kind of good bad movies are the ones where, like The Rooms, where it's like, okay, clearly effort is being put in, but it's just wasted effort.
Gotcha. Okay, anyway, so point being, not that movie we're talking about. We're talking about For Love and Money. So this is essentially, it's a romantic comedy with Michael J. Fox from the 90s where Michael J. Fox, and this is what sold me away, it's like, when you go on Netflix, you just kind of scroll through the movies and it kind of plays like a clip for a second there. Play the trailer or something. It was Michael J. Fox as a concierge to a hotel and being charming as all get out. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. I gotta watch this. Okay, that's all. Okay, Michael J. Fox.
That sounds like good comfort entertainment. I give you that.
This is a great comfort movie, Kiki. It's a great comfort movie where, look, are there trappings of romantic 90s comedies? Absolutely. Okay, so I will not hide that from you. But again, the biggest kick I get out of this movie is like Michael J. Fox as the very competent concierge to a hotel. He's great at his job. He plays Doug Ireland. Basically, this guy, he dreams of saving enough money and basically buying his own hotel so he can run it at all his own. Like, he can own the hotel instead of like being the concierge of the hotel. So that's his dream. Because he was a hotel kid. He was raised a hotel kid, grew up in the business. That's why he's so good at what he does. He's a wheeling dealer. He trades he basically he's the most competent guy because he trades with all the other hotel guys, like all like tickets and stuff to the shows in town that he gives the folks, and he kind of saves that, helps build up his tips so he can afford this new. It's good stuff. I don't know if I'm selling it right there, but the point being, it's good stuff. He's a wheeling dealer in the best of ways with that Michael J. Fox charm for days.
Did you say his last name was Ireland?
Yeah, Doug Ireland. That's who he plays.
That's a really cool last name for a Michael J. Fox character.
Yeah. Hey, McFly, you Irish bug. No, seriously. It's basically, it's like, let me put it this way, Tiki. It's like the best parts of The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. At least my favorite part is The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, which were the hotel parts. It's kind of like that in a sense. It's bad, maybe a little better than that, but it's good. Like, we have some fun.
Home Alone 2, because that's the metrics that I reach for Home Alone.
I think if you like that, you're gonna love this, Tiki. That's
okay.
What I'm saying. Like the hotel side of things, I think you're gonna love is how good Michael J. Like Dan Hidea's in it. Carlo's husband from Cheers. He has a really fun role in it. It has a really nice, really sweet payoff. Fun casting there. Burn Notice, an actress from Burn Notice, which I still haven't finished yet, which one of these is probably going to be on the next Memoirs. But Burn Notice is Gabrielle Antor. She plays Andy. So if you've ever seen Burn Notice, she's a familiar face. I don't think you've seen Burn Notice, so it's kind of a non-issue. But the point being, she's what holds the movie back. She's like all 90s rom-com, this character. She's she's a nice slice of 90s rom-com, I'll put it to you that way. She basically, here's the thing that bugs me about her, Teasley. The only thing that bugs me about the movie really is that the movie as a whole is a nice slice of 90s rom-com until we get to the flaw with her, which is she's the love interest, but she's with another guy. But here's the kicker. She's knowingly in an affair. Like Ireland, Ireland likes this girl and wants to be with her, and she says, no, I have someone already. And he finds out through the hotel, like, oh God, you're dating the rich guy I'm trying to make an investment deal with, who is married, and he basically calls her out on this it's so awesome. Michael J. Fox calls her out like, yeah, you're doing all these terrible things right now. What right do you have? And she high roads him. How are you high roading him right now? You're in the wrong. So I mean, then we get we do stuff like that, and basically the guy later on we see clearly he's the bad choice. Like, why is she with this guy? He's a really snooty rich guy. Like, I don't get it. But again, that's part of the course of the 90s rom-coms. Yeah, it's part of the course. So the movie, and it's not complicated, but Fox saves it, man. Fox is the reason to check this movie out. We tie up the loose ends really nicely. I won't spoil it for you. We do. It's comfort TV. It's comfort movie at the finest, buddy.
Okay.
All
right. Let's see. So, last one for me, I believe, is T2 Train Spotting.
Well, your second to last one.
Yeah, not a great. That is my second.
Your second to last one. Now you got it right. It is Train Spotting. I'm saying you have one more after this, Tiki.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
I see. Got it. Okay. My bad. Okay. So, Dragon, do you know anything about Train Spotting? Have you watched Train Spotting?
I assume it takes place on a train.
You'd assume wrong.
I got nothing then. I got no idea what this movie is.
Oh man, Dragon, Train Spotting is a classic.
I've heard the name, but I always assumed it was like a train movie. I have no idea what this thing is.
No, it's about heroin addicts.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Okay, I'm just gonna run down the cast here, all right?
Is it a sequel?
All these people appear in the sequel, so you need to check out both of them because the cast is great.
What is
Ewan McGregor, Ewan Bremner, Johnny Lee Miller, Johnny Lee Miller, and I think this is going to be your favorite, Robert Carlyle, Dragon. Robert freaking Carlyle!
Nice. I mean, you can't already have me with Johnny Lee Miller, but Carlyle, now we're talking.
So, man, I'm legitimately shocked that you didn't know the first movie was about heroin.
Well, what is it? I'm just getting cast.
Okay, so it's about a group of friends. There's so much shit that goes down in the first movie. I have no idea how to explain this movie to you now.
Well, is it a heist movie? Is it all about addiction? Like what?
Yeah, it's all about lifestyle. It's like a lifestyle movie. It's like a slice of life movie, except the slice of life happens to be heroin addiction.
Gotcha.
But it's not nearly as depressing as something like Requiem for a Dream. In fact, it kind of like embraces the thrill of the lifestyle, if you will. It shows the downsides of the lifestyle for sure, but it also embraces kind of the thrilling nature of it. Well, Dragon, let's just say at the end of the movie, Ewan McGregor makes a choice to betray the rest of the group. And then in T2 Train Spotting, he has to come back 20 years later and sort of cop to it. He has to, basically, he's coming back for his mother's funeral because he kind of ran away from where he was at the end of the movie. And he's going back there for the first time in 20 years. He's going back to his hometown. And so basically the whole movie is all about kind of like making amends, hooking back up with past connections, building bridges back up. But then Robert Carlyle, Dragon. Robert Carlyle is the outlier of all that because, Johnny Lee Miller is arguably the guy that Ewan McGregor betrayed the most in the first movie. And they actually get the most screen time together, and they do kind of come to genuinely, respect each other again in the movie. But Robert Carlyle is one pissed off mother effer in this movie. And basically by the end of it, Robert Carlyle basically becomes a slasher movie villain because he's so intent on getting his revenge against Ewan McGregor. And he's legitimately intimidating. He legitimately is pretty damn scary in this movie. There's some really heartbreaking stuff going down with the character of Spud, the Ewan Bremner character, who the really, really heartfelt stuff going on with him. I don't know, Dragon. Just you'll probably never see this movie, but at the end of the day, I do think that it's a solid sequel. It's not needed. I feel like the first movie ended on an ambiguous note, and I could, the ambiguous note was a good note to end on. But by the same token, Dragon, this is just one of those sequels where it's like, it is kind of a miracle that you got this cast back together 20 years later, especially because everyone in the cast is doing good for themselves now. It's not like anyone's kind of hurting for work right now. So it's a small miracle that this cast came together, and it's one of those movies where most of the fun of it is just seeing the characters that you know and love interact with each other. It's kind of like Age of Ultron in that way, right? Like, Age of Ultron is not the most substantial MCU movie, but it's just fun to see the characters bouncing off of each other. And that's kind of the analogy I use here. It's like, it's great to see the characters again. The story's very hit or miss, and it doesn't nearly have the same energy as the first one. But that being said, it is directed by Danny Boyle, and Danny Boyle does do some good stuff with it directing wise. It's not nearly as flashy as the directing job he did on the original, but I will say it's probably a better directing job than the one he did on Yesterday. So it was a little bit of a step up from that.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's see. So my penultimate would be Making Apes, the artist who changed film.
I wanted to see this, Dragon. It was on my Amazon Prime feed. I if not for Avatar, I probably would have gotten around to it.
Yeah, this just popped up for me too. It was it's really eye catching. I think I heard about this once, but it wasn't available. I think it was I don't know. It was like one of those. I hate when they keep advertising all the films that go to the film festivals. You can never watch them, and now it's even worse than ever because now we don't have any really kind of get them readily. Because now they're trying to figure out how they can make their money back if they're not going to do a film festival like the distribution they usually have. But anyway, point being, now it's put on Amazon. So yeah, this is basically behind the scenes on John Chambers and I believe Tom Berman, the guys behind the Planet of the Apes makeups and the sequels and everything. It's a very solid doc on the Planet of the Apes franchise. Tiki, really good stuff. It really paints a picture for John Chambers, who we kind of glimpsed how he would be like in Argo with John Goodman. We kind of glimpsed that. Yeah, but this is a really interesting portrayal. We had some fun stories from, I believe, Tom Berman, was kind of talking about how there was an accidental makeup thing that really impressed the hires up that really kind of made John Chambers furious. And Chambers was he was a strong cup of coffee. That guy, he was strong coffee. That John Chambers, but he got results, man. He got results. It's really fun how we kind of go through, we kind of tailor everything towards the sequels to the Planet of the Apes. It's but ultimately, Tika, what kind of boils down to, it's a really touching story of a makeup artist and his apprentice between these two guys, which is really beautiful. It's like the guy who's taught by John Chambers, and kind of how they kind of get split after a while, and they kind of find their way back in a really beautiful way. It's really nice. It's nice. Good doc.
Okay.
Good doc.
Good doc. All right. So my final one, Dragon, is Molly's Game. Have you seen this?
Is I think it's on the trailer for this. Is it the chess movie?
No, it is the poker movie.
Okay, is there? I'm probably gonna be wrong if I guess. Just tell me what it is.
Okay, so Jessica Chastain, she plays a woman, Molly, as you would guess,
Okay.
who begins an illegal poker ring. And essentially, it's a true story. It's her story to kind of her rise to the top, and how she starts taking more and more risks. Things get more and more illegal. She starts attracting the attention of celebrities, including a certain player called Player X, who that's all we know of him. And he's
like
played by
Racer
Michael.
X?
Yes, exactly. And he's played by Michael Cera. But basically, Dragon, there's kind of speculation on who Player X is supposed to be. But all signs kind of point to Tobey Maguire. So basically, this movie is just kind of it's directed by Aaron Sorkin. It's Aaron Sorkin's first directorial debut, and also obviously written by him. And I gotta tell you, Dragon, Aaron Sorkin, better writer than he is a director. I think if David Fincher would have directed this thing, it would have been a fucking amazing movie. As it stands now, I don't like this thing. It's got the Sorkin writing down pat for sure. I mean, it's a wonderful script, as Sorkin always does. It's, there's a million different Sorkin walk and talk shots, and we all love those. So, it's great in that regard. And there is some really fun stuff, like the Player X of it all, who's a really mysterious figure. But I think the movie has a pacing issue, Dragon, and that's really where I feel like we could have used another director on it, because I feel like a director would have taken this script, would have maybe tightened it a little bit more. Because as it stands now, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and honestly, I don't really think the story needs to be 2 hours and 20 minutes. So it's one of those movies where it's one of those frustrating movies where it's really good. You like almost everything about it. But if like 10 minutes would have been shaved off of it to, kind of ease up the runtime on it, it would have been maybe perfect. But as it stands now, it's really good. Very intriguing, very, very interesting plot with a lot of twists and turns, very crazy true story. And Michael Cera is probably my highlight. I'm not gonna lie. And also it's got Kevin Costner and Jeremy Strong and Idris Elba.
Now, are you sure it wasn't Bob Odenkirk playing Kevin Costner? You sure about that?
God. Yes. And also Justin Kirk pops up too.
Hey!
Well, a lot of familiar faces. So yeah, Greg, it's not like a strong recommend, but it's good, it's decent. I think this will whet your appetite for like a gambling movie more than Uncut Gems did.
All right.
Okay,
so last one for me. Oddly enough, another kind of female-led film, Seberg.
No idea about this one.
Okay. So this is there's an Amazon project. It was like one of those things where it's like an Amazon original that they've now made available recently, and they really advertised it. So I assume it was like maybe here's the thing. It was a movie from last year. I don't know if it was released through their thing, however they're going to do it, but now it's made available to the public this year. So whatever. Point being, gotcha. This is a biopic on the actress Jean Seberg.
Okay.
It's a biopic about real life where you have this French actress who essentially got kind of wrapped up in the whole Black Panther affair of the 60s, in a Black Panther operation in the 60s, where essentially French actress who has always been kind of like, kind of favored towards kind of, the agenda and everything, like wants to help out, so she kind of supports the Black Panthers, which obviously gets on the FBI's bad side, and that's kind of the premise of the movie. Kristen Stewart plays Jean Seberg, and she's really good. I gotta tell you, I mean, Tiki, I gotta tell you, batting average wise, I think Kristen Stewart impresses me more than Pattinson every time out of the Twilight Brigade there. I mean, she's always like, she's never really let me down in terms of when I go back to her and things. Like she was good in this. She was, I think she was an American Ultra.
Yeah, she was an American Ultra.
Yeah, she was American. Yeah, she was an American Ultra. She was in this, and there's another thing I'm thinking. Oh yeah, she was in Cafe Society. She was really good in Cafe Society. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
She keeps every time she pops up.
Nobody talks about Cafe Society.
It is a really good movie, seriously. Another Amazon original. That's what I'm saying. They must really like her.
Yeah.
Kind of bring her back. Anyway, my point is, Kristen Stewart, she doesn't disappoint at all. And the main reason I checked it out, Anthony Mackie's in this, man. Mackie!
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
Yeah, he plays Hakeem Jamal, who essentially is Malcolm X's cousin, who kind of, many senses of the word, he kind of led, I don't know if he led the Black Panther Party, but at least he led a Black Panther Party or something.
Name definitely sounds familiar in the history books, yeah.
You have a really great cast in this, Tiki. You have Zazie Beetz, the Domino from Deadpool 2,
Yeah,
and she was in Joker, so she's in this. She plays the wife or the girlfriend of Hakeem Jamal. Vince Vaughn's in it. He plays the FBI agent. Stephen Root plays Gene Seberg's agent. And Jack O'Connell, he plays the conflicted FBI agent. Essentially, the idea is the FBI agent here, he grows a conscience throughout the movie here, where he basically, because the whole premise of the movie is that the FBI is driving this poor woman who just wanted to help them like build schools and everything, like schools and playgrounds for the African American cause. That's basically all she wanted to do. She has kids herself. She just wanted to help out in the effort, which basically Mackie kind of turned her on to. But they're also having an affair and everything. So the point being, the FBI, this agent grows a conscience because the FBI is driving this woman mad with paranoia that she's being watched. And she doesn't know by who. Like, she's being surveilled. She is being surveilled, and this guy is doing the surveilling in part. But it feels really bad about the FBI. Just like she's a non-player in this whole thing, really. Like, they don't need to go as hard after her as they are, but they are, and it just drives her completely insane. She's looking for bugs throughout the room. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I think you might really like this in terms of, if you're looking for a biopic and you want to see kind of something recent, probably be this.
All right. Okay, folks. Well, that'll do it for us.
Wait, best and worst. Or no?
Yeah, I know. Okay, so Dragon, fucking guess what my worst is, man. Come on, just fucking take a vital guess.
Okay, well, I'm going to say it's both of our worst here. It's Scoob, right?
Yes, of course.
But the recent stuff, both of our worst, they're worst.
But just overall.
Oh, just okay. Just overall. Well, I mean, overall, I don't know. Actually, well, yeah, I guess Scoop's probably the worst overall for doing that. You just want to get at me saying uncut gems, don't you? That's all you really want. That's why you're making it overall, little cheater. Okay. Best for me is, I gotta tell you, I was really impressed by Justice League Dark Apocalypse, where I was really satisfied with that. So I'm gonna go with that as my best. It was between that, or if we're going for the catch up. I mean, Bad Samaritan is really good, but I really liked Apocalypse more. So.
All right, so yeah, obviously Scoob is the worst. I mean, kind of fucking come on. Jesus Christ. Best, definitely Michael Clayton. Michael Clayton was the big surprise this month. But Dragon, really, come on, let's be honest here. Avatar: The Last Bender was easily the best thing I watched this month. I know it's not a movie, but like May 2020 is going to be the month of Avatar: The Last Airbender for me. That was my summer blockbuster for this year.
Yep. But remind me, Tiki, did you see the Shyamalan movie before you saw the show?
No, I have never seen the Shyamalan movie.
Well, remember, here's what's really interesting about the Avatar thing. They're doing the live action. They're taking another stab at doing it in live action, but as a series on Netflix versus doing a crappy Shyamalan.
I know, I'm aware, and I'm very nervous about it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. I just want them to get Korra on Netflix, but God forbid we do anything simple, right?
Yep. All right. Well, folks, also big thanks to Claude Karinga for joining us in the comments. As always,
a lot of love for Claudia.
Yeah. Well, folks, we've waxed on long enough. It's time to put the pen down. Until next time, when we return for another fitting chapter in our
Movie Memoirs!
Movie Memoirs! Ah! Shaggy, you said you'd never leave.